Let me hit the record button. So we're looking at a Season 32, end of Season 32 RTA tier list. My last RTA tier list that I made was at the end of December, so it's definitely been a while. We had a balance patch at late January. It was not super impactful, but there were a bunch of changes. Therefore, I do want to make a new tier list, of course. A few changes. Oliver became the most picked. We can actually check it over here in the G3 statistic. Oliver became most picked. Cigar definitely dropped off. Jongnam is super high on win rate and pick rate. Sekhmet got second most picked, which is also definitely an interesting one right there. So there's definitely been a few changes because of that. Also, Light Gojo is definitely one of those units that's super high up right now. So we're going to be doing a new RTA tier list. Might you be not familiar with my tier list? Then just a quick explanation. I do the tiers from 195 and then blah, blah, blah that because it gives me more flexibility to put a number in between rather than saying double S and a half because that doesn't make too much sense. And then besides that, I will be trying to say everything like unit X goes in position Y rather than this goes this, because then you can also kind of listen it as a podcast if you like to do that. If you want to be part of those tier lists, we have the chat up here also trying to make me as non-biased as possible. But then again, everyone is biased towards their own units to a certain extent. But that's why I also use the win rates, my own experience, what I've seen other people play with and the results on that and those kind of things. So influence of all of that makes it that I think the tier list is as minimum bias as possible. But then again, there's still going to be biases on every tier list. It's just as simple as that. So it's my opinion and feel free to disagree. And then besides that, we go for family names. So we're going to go all the units just from A to Z. If they have 1% pick rate, if they are below 1% pick rate, I'm not going to be placing them in. And I do have all of the new units in there as well. So once again, as we start off every tier list, we start off with Han. How is Han doing in current meta? I would say that Han is, I think, a little bit replaced by Zeratul being better. Oh no, actually win rate of Han is still pretty high up. I do think that his win rate would drop down in lower ranks, yep. So definitely one of those units, that's also an important factor. Some units just do very well in higher ranks because the rune quality is just kind of needed, or the pairing with multiple LDs is needed. And that's kind of a Han thing, like you need multiple LDs to make it good. But a 51.76 is definitely a very solid unit. And I think Han just goes straight to the 90. But I would say if you just have Han without other LDs, he's probably like 85-ish. If you have other LDs, dark LDs to pair with it, for example, that Wunsa, for example, that Gianna, I think those are the best examples out there, then he just instantly becomes a 90. But I would say in G3, most people do tend to have something else next to the Han itself, so I would say that Han is still pretty darn solid, and therefore for me on a 90. Going into some Valkyries, starting off with, wait, is a Chrome in here? A Chrome is in here. Almost thought I missed it. Let's see. We start off with Camilla, which I think is an underrated unit, where I would say that a Chow is overrated. I would say that Camilla is underrated. Oh, Camilla win rate is actually pretty horrible, so maybe I overrated. It could also be a thing. But still, I feel like Camilla in the right position at the right draft can still be pretty good. Does better in lower ranks. Maybe in G3, it's just people are not running it up to like great extent. But I feel like a good Camilla in the right draft against fire units, it's very nice. Also, it does way better into like more. So yeah, it's also just super nice into verts. It's like the freeze and everything. It's pretty nice. It's mainly to the fire units, I would say, but for me personally, still a pretty nice unit. Let's check off Vanessa, most likely one of the highest fire unit on pick rates. Oh no, wait, actually we just checked. Sekhmet is the highest, but one of the highest is definitely a fair value. It is 49 on the win rate though, which is a little bit lower than usual, but it's a first pick. And most of the time, something that's a first pick tends to be a little bit on lower rates. But I would say Vanessa's definitely still an 85. If you have the right pairs for it, it's really good. But Vanessa will still want to be paired up with other single target snipe units, such as, for example, that Han or a Zeratul or, well, mainly LDs. You can also pair it right now with the Zenitsus because they're also good for single target damage dealing. But most of the time, the good single target damage dealers are still kind of the LDs out there. Akroma. I would say Akroma is a little bit worse than last season. I really loved Akroma last season. And what is the change in that is because of less Sibalas. It was a really good counter against the Sibala meta, And the Zimbala meta is a little bit gone, so the thing that she was countering the most is actually slightly gone. But still, Akroma is incredibly good. In the right match, can be super annoying, can be super good. Do we actually put it on 90? Now, if we compare win rates, I think the Han is more versatile, more overall. But I would say Akroma on 85, it's still definitely very, very strong. But it struggles a little bit more into the meta, which is now shifting to a lot more bruiser. And also a lot more chance of immunity and those kind of things. Like the moment she's fighting immunity, Akroma's having a bad day, but 85 definitely feels fine on her for that reason. Yeah, it's good into all of her segment Jongnam, but it's also kind of bad into all of her segment Jongnam, to be honest. Well, it is good into the main core units that are spammed a lot. No, I'm actually gonna give it 90 for that reason, because the top 3 most units, or the top 3 most used units, she is kind of good into all 3. It doesn't always work out, but she's kind of good into all 3. She definitely does have the issue. Actually, in G3, yeah, in G3 she has lower win rate. I expected that. Yep, I've seen that win rate before dropping down in higher ranks. And yeah, she does have a bit of lower win rate. So in G3, no, I'm actually going to 1-down her. If she had 51 win rate in G3, I would have kept her there. 85. We're going to keep that 85. Because I know that her win rate dropped below 50. And for me, where her win rate was like 70 in last season or something, she's now around like 50, 55-ish for me as well, because I kind of overspammed her. But last season, I could get away with overspamming her. And this season, I can't, so 85 makes that something of a drop right there. Eshir, definitely a unit we don't see all too much anymore. Yeah, 3% pick rate, 46 on the win rate. That is not really great. Low rank still does okay, but there's just too many other good speed units where you want to put your stuff on, because Sekhmet kind of wants a set that is somewhat similar to an Eshir. You want more accuracy on it, of course, but if you have a choice, fast Eshir or fast Sekhmet, I would go for the Sekhmet. Between Athna and Eshir, Athna, between Eshir and pretty much anyone else that's fast, most likely that other unit. So it's not horrible, but I would give Eshir a 70 in current meta. It's not really the craziest out there. Let's see if Farad is used. I don't really think so. Farad's way below pick rate. Don't have to check that. Chimera, I don't think Chimera is much used as well. The Chimera Tablo meta that we had before is kind of gone. Okay, it is still 1.5% pick rate, so I'm going to place it in, but I feel like Chimera is 65. Like, it's good against one very particular thing, which is a Veronica, but against Veronica, it's still kind of awkward. Are you going to outspeed that Veronica at the moment that it nems? Does it nem enough that actually cuts a turn? Is it at the right speed? It's something that's really hard to tune, and for that reason, is kind of showing up on this win rate. Vertiheal, though. Oh, wait, let's first check the Zerath. Well, we only have like 1 or 2 people actually spamming Zerath. We have good success with it, though. Zerath, yeah, it's kind of low on pick rate, 0.66. It is a really good unit if you pair your whole team and your whole account around it, that you also re-up for those for that unit and blah blah and that kind of stuff. But in the sense of just general units or general people using a Zerath, wouldn't really draft it. Moving on next towards some vampires. Verdi Birdie. Verdi Birdie is 10% pick rate with a 50.84 win rate, which is actually higher than a lot of the spammed units. It is a counter pick, but I think Verd in current meta is definitely very strong again, because in previous meta, it was kind of struggling against the Sibala. Sibala was really a big factor to always get this thing stunned. Now you do have the Jongnam, but I think with Jongnam, it's still kind of more fine for a Verd to pivot around, and Verd is just, yeah, he's just incredibly good. So I'm going to give Verd an 80, maybe even 85. To be honest, no, I give Verd an 80 because it's still the luck of the try on the revenges and that kind of nonsense. So don't want to give too much credit to a Verd, so 80 is fine. Julian definitely did take a proper hit because of Zenitsus. Zenitsus make Julian a lot harder to draft. I still think it's a very good unit, but it's a way better unit in a slot 4 or a slot 5 right now. Whereas before it was really good in a slot 2 or slot 3, like you go for Nessa and instantly into the Julian. Whereas now you can't really instantly go for the Julian, you more have to like hide it and draft it in later, and then it's still pretty strong. But he definitely did take a proper hit for how good he was, because he used to be like 95-ish when the stun was there. So yeah, the S2, was kind of like the stun rate was kind of lowering him, but having the Zenitsus with a really good counter potential against the Julians right now, that's the thing that hit him the most actually. So not necessarily buffing or nerfing a unit, but just making other units good to kind of get them in there. I'm pretty sure that Cadiz, I'm not even going to search for it. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be in the usable range. Moving on next, Theor. I don't think Theor is used as much as well. Theor, nope. Well, we can check for Jean, because Lagmaron for sure not. Jean is 1% pick rate. Jean just has from all of the Chimeras, I think Jean has the biggest issues with his base speed. Because he really wants to deal the damage from his speed, and he wants to be on violent, whereas Theor is okay on Swift. Lagmaron is okay on Swift. Well, it awakens into base speed, so it's not a big of an issue anyways, but he's having the biggest issue with the base speed, and that just makes Jean kind of weird and bad. Like, as a late pick, it's still kind of good, but the thing is, you don't want to put a good value set on something that's just a late pick. So I would say that, yeah, if he gets plus 15, he's instantly meta, because now he's too hard to rune to be good. And if you give him very good runes, he's definitely good. He's definitely still up there. It's not really AoE CC meta, which he kind of fits in most. But the big issue is people are just not going to give that set of runes to him, which other speed damage dealers right now deal or just work way better, like a Sonya, like the Zenitsus itself, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's... Yep. I think the main reason why he used that insane win rate is because it was really a Hey Gang more kind of meta, and he definitely did fit the Hey Gang Chungpong more meta, and he definitely did really fit in the Hey Gang Chungpong more kind of meta. But currently those units are still used, but not really like, oh, that's the meta stuff that we're using all the time. Let's check about Zeratul. Zeratul is really insane though. Zeratul is absolutely insane, and some people might think I'm overreacting on this, but I think Zeratul is by far, for single target bruisers, one of the most insane units in game, because you can build it tanky as fuck. It does do an insane amount of damage. It has every turn a strip, which is really insane. Like, there's very few units that can strip every turn and still make good value of that, while still being supportive on themselves, while still having immunity, while still healing themselves and everything. So yeah, if we're checking for win rates, I think for the things that are like, we just want to say 2% plus, there's definitely a few units out there with higher win rates, but for the amount of pick rate he has, it's definitely high up. It's pretty high up. Am I putting it too high? Am I maybe putting the Han too high already? No, I actually feel like that we have a lot of units that are very strong at the moment. I think that this is a tier list. We had a few tier lists where I didn't put that many units on the 100, but I feel like that there's going to be a decent amount of units at the 100 tier right now. But yeah, Zeratul 95. Also, the thing about Zeratul, it doesn't need many more LDs to be good, whereas a lot of LDs right now that you actually sneak peeking a few over here, the Laura kind of needs the Gojo needs the Laura, and they kind of need the Tianlang. Like, those three are really good with one another, whereas Zeratul's just fine by itself. It's just insane good by itself. So I would say Zeratul in this one is fine. Han is strong, but you need a specific team to make him lower, though. Yeah, the thing is, the question is, do I want to fill a lot of hundreds right now? Because what I could do is make a tier in between, because Han is definitely stronger than these, but Zeratul is definitely stronger than Han. So either we make a 92.5, because I know what's gonna come later, and I will, because the Tianlang, the Gojo, and the Lore are absolutely better than a Zeratul. That is like 100%. That is without doubt. But I think I'm gonna do a row below that. This is the earliest I made like an in-betweener tier already. And I'm gonna put it in here. Is that fine? Yeah, I think that's fine. I might change things up later, but I think that is fine for now. We're gonna leave that as is. And I gotta keep farming, otherwise. Waste of EXP. Oh no, you don't get the EXP in this game. Okay, let's continue on, because these tier lists are already way too lengthy normally anyways. Moving on next. These are not used chickens. Do we have some Ludia being used? Is that actually a thing? Don't be a thing. Eludia is a thing. 1% pick rate plus. Well, if you're just cleaving. Like, if you're cleaving, building your whole team around it, then yeah, maybe. But no. Whatever. It's just... Wouldn't really recommend, like, random people to start drafting a chicken. I've seen the light chicken as a nem trap, however, a few times, though, into a Wunsa, and then light chicken as a nem trap, boosting up your team. I would actually use the light chicken for that. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Actually, no. Actually, I think that might be good, but only into Wunsa. Anything else, it would be bad. But light chicken, triple nem into a Wunsa, that kind of stuff. I can't believe you call them a chicken. What else is this than a chicken? It's a chicken with a fucking horn. Phoenix, whatever. Chicken boost 15. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Okay, one down. Chicken back to 70. Is the Teshar chicken actually used? I knew that some people were like speed calling them. But nope. Okay, then we go on with Archangels. Valkyrja. 50 win rate. 50.50, 25 on the pick. That's any insane rate right there. Valkyrja, yep, straight to it. How much, like, which number of picked unit are you in right now? That's about what, like number 10 or 8-ish with a 50 plus win rate? Straight up a 90 for me for Valkyrja. It's still very good. It's also very good into a lot of things. Valkyrja is just pretty insane. Is it 0-2 level though? Not necessarily. No. It is a 90 level. We got a Artemiel, and I think Artemiel is a very double-edged sword that if he stuns a lot, he despairs a lot, he's really good. If he doesn't, he's really bad. And there's no world in between. I don't like these 100 res Artemiels though. I like an Artemiel that does proper damage. Like if you have a proper damage Artemiel, can be nice, but it's still kind of niche that you might be like, okay, could have maybe placed something else in that spot, would have maybe done better. Like, it's not bad if you put really good runes to it, but in most cases, it doesn't shine as much. So I'm going to give Artemiel 75 for that. Fermion. I do know some people do spam Fermions. Most of them, they have the whole shebang of all kinds of dark LDs. Paired with it, Ragdolls, Viva Shells, blah, 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 yada, yada. We don't want to play against that shit. But let's see. It actually has a 51.77 win rate on Fermion and a 1.8 on the pick rate. Wow. So technically that makes it better, but I'm gonna put it in the same because you need multiple LDs to make Fermion even playable. You need the Ragdoll, you need a Nyx, you need a Gup, so you need all of that shit to make it work. If you do have those, it's really good. But without any of those, just drafting a random Fermion is not gonna get you that far. If you have the good pairs, it's definitely 80. Without the good pairs, it's just 75. Like, alone, he's absolutely nothing. But if you have good pairs on under dark units, just a Gapso is not going to cut it. You need at least a Nyx or a Ragdoll. Valeska is actually a good option as well. If you have some of those, then yeah, you might definitely pair it up and it might definitely be pretty good. Can we compare Valkyrja and Dark Nesgo, or doesn't make sense? Doesn't make that much sense, to be honest. I'm going to get to all of the units at some point because I'm just going to do the list from A to Z because that's also how I already wrote down all of the family names and then the timestamps and makes my life easy. Let's start off with some OGs. We got Anavel. Do people use that? Nope, Livert is not playing in G3 anymore. What the hell is this win rate 42? Okay, moving on next. Charlotte, are we doing any better? Close to 1% pick rate, but not exactly 1% pick rate, so I'm not going to use it because I do know it's just one player spamming this, and he's spamming it with Ace of Wrath. So Dustin, sorry, doesn't count. Moving on next, Rika. I think Rika kind of lost a little bit of shine because Bloodshed being that good, and actually nearly got out of the 1% pick rate because of that. Still think it's good to have a Rika ruined because sometimes it's just good to use a Rika next to a Bloodshed both. But if you only have one good Despair tanky set, I would rather give it to something else than a Rika at the moment. But Rika can still be pretty good in her own respect. Gonna give that an 80. I feel like it's... No, I'm gonna give that 75 because she kind of lost value in like how often you can draft her. Then we're gonna go into... First, let's do a Nikki. The one that likes to get nerfed for her sister being too OP. 49.93 on the win rate, 2.28 on the pick. It's definitely not picked as much anymore. It's also the case, I have it myself. I thought that back in the day she could do a lot more like Dominic, Nikki, and it would be really nice. But Currently, she's kind of like hard-ish to draft. She's still a good unit, don't get me wrong. She's definitely good. She's still usable. But she's not that great at the moment. She's kind of hard to fit in. She often just kind of dies or just... Well, there's not that much damage on her anymore because the skill 3 is removed for the damage. At least one extra attack is removed. But 80, I think, is fine for her. Then we go into Laura. And there's one way we can find Laura, and that is selecting by win rate. And then she pops up as the number 2 win rate if we select it as top 2% or only 2% pick rate. She's the number 1 win rate. she survived 3 nerfs, 4 nerfs. But she's still absolutely insane on a 24% pick rate. And she's very good paired with Jongnam at the moment, which is the best normal elemental unit in the game. So it is noticeable, however, that in G3 she performs a lot better than in G1. That is definitely a thing that's noticeable. Then again, a lot of Laura owners end up in G3 because she is G3. So, yep, I think we're just gotta do this once again. One above. And, you. And, Laura... You deserve the 105 once again. You do need good pairs with it in L, or do you need good pairs with an LD? No, you can just go Laura and Oliver and Jongnam, you're fine. If you go for higher than, like if you go stronger than that, adding in the Werner, the Light Gojo, or the Tianlang, yeah, it gets a lot better, but that's definitely making her insane. But you need good artifacts for it. Good runes, good artifacts. Mainly the artifacts. Like, why are people in G1? Bad artifacts on Laura. I'm telling you. Like, if you have a Laura and she's not dealing enough, get more artifacts. That's all I can say. And Praha. I do know that Praha is picked a little bit by people going into, like, the Skid playstyle. And that is mostly around a Carnal high on damage with, like, a Nana or the Wind Twin Angels or something like that. It is okay-ish. It is okay-ish. But it's not really too much towards my liking. I would get 75 on it. It's not that crazy right now that I would say like, oh, if people start ruining this up, make it really good. Plus, if you want to use her, you have to actually give one of your best sets to her. Otherwise, she's not going to do anything. Plus, she has some Sonya issues and that kind of stuff. But in the right position, in the right set, she's pretty good. Let's see how Lima's doing these days. Lima's doing the worst of all of the oracles. Better buff Gianna. Lima's doing horrible. Buff Gianna. Okay. So Gianna is a 51 win rate on a 28 pick rate, which does make her, I think, the most picked LD5 in the game. Yep, that's very correct. And she's still on a pretty darn high win rate. Question is, though, comparing her to a Tianlang, comparing her to a Gojo, is she better than those? That's kind of the rough spot right now. Because for win rate, sure, she's picked a lot more. But I do think that Tianlang, Light Gojo, and stuff are probably better. Gianna better than Tianlang? Well, Tianlang you can't use that much. So maybe Tianlang would end up at the same spot. Light Gojo would end up at 100. I think that's probably the way. Because Tianlang is not spammable. Gianna's spammable, but does a little bit worse. But Light Gojo is first pickable, which is really insane. So yeah, I think that's going to be something like that. But I'll see when I get to that point, because maybe I'll start switching around depending on what I see at that moment. So I'm not too sure about it, and I don't think that anything else is gonna reach the 105. We move on to some more oracles. We got, of course, the Sierra. Sierra wants to be paired with good LDs, otherwise she's not great. That's definitely a Sierra thing, still ever been, always been. I think she's good, but she's kind of Vanessa level. It's pretty much the same, 85 for Sierra. And then we go for a Juno. Juno's pretty insane as well. 51 win rate, or close to 51 win rate on 26 pick. And that makes her one of the highest win rates in the first pick units out there. So that definitely does make her pretty darn good. I would actually say that I think Juno is a 92.5. I think Juno is really insane. Once again, does need good runes, does need good stuff, but yeah. DLing better than Light Gojo? Personally, I don't think so, because Light Gojo is first pickable. And currently, as you can see, all of the first picks don't really have super high win rates. And having Light Gojo as first pick on ladder is really insane. Your Juno is? My Juno is here. My Juno, if it decides to stun, is there. But yeah, my Juno, you need good runes on the Juno. Search by first pick. First pick. Laura still first picked. Insane. But then again, it's the first pick is a representative of like a subset of, or it's not a subset of this. It's like in the total like pool of everything. Well, I think talking back to the Juno, I think Juno in lower ranks probably still does, yeah, still 51 win rate. Like Juno has positive win rate in all quadrants of the game. So Juno is definitely a 92.5. Once again, it sucks. Get more artifacts. Looking on next, I saw some people going in with Rockies recently, but I don't think that that really became a thing. Yeah, keep that shit hidden. Doesn't really work. Ethna, however, is kind of struggling for a spot. 48 on 0.90 on the win rate, 21 on pick rates. It's not bad, but it's also not crazy insane at the moment. But 85, I think 85 does fit her very fair right there. And we got Prygon with a tier 1er. Thank you very much. Moving on next, we got some Asima flavor. Wait, did I not put Beth in here? Is Beth not in here? Is Beth used enough? Am I going to be on the scenario where I don't have a Beth again? Thank you for not using Beth, guys. The Heigang Tomoe Beth comp is dead in G3. In lower ranks, it's, yeah, in lower ranks, that's where you can definitely see in lower ranks it's there. But in G3, that's exactly what I've been saying for many seasons already. This shit doesn't work in high ranks. But in low ranks, she's pretty good. So, honorable mention. Could have picked her in, but since I forgot her once again, otherwise I would probably put her on like 70-ish. She's kind of just like that one comp, a good late pick, and that's it. We got a Asima, if that is picked that much. And not picked as much, but for me, Asima and Rika always have been kind of same-ish. Some cases you do like your Rika more than Asima, but it's something that I would keep both. Kraka, people are actually using Kraka, 1.71%. Why are you using Kraka? That's kind of the point. Kraka, 70. Don't like it. It's yeah, it doesn't have the worst of win rates, but a last pick Lima like 1 in 30 matches. Yeah, it's really uncommon to use Lima, but when she's there, she mostly does pretty decent. And Terrace is also something of the past, and I think that's mainly... which one did actually make work of that? I think the Chandra meta, yeah, like Antares is definitely something of the past. People don't like the Chandra anymore, or the Antares anymore. Moving on to some Dragonites, starting off, first of all, with the most overrated unit in game. Well, I have seen some drafts here and there lately that was like, it was not that bad. Not that bad. 48.76 win rate. It is not that bad, I would say. I'm going to give Chow still the same as a Camilla. I feel like that's a lot of places where people pick a Chow, a Camilla would have done better, because it's easier to rock full damage into a Camilla than into a Chow. That is the main thing. But then again, having both ruined up is not a bad thing as well. So, but Chow, I think he's still like in a lot of matches kind of overrated, where he's not gonna do enough. Leica, few matches where he does decent, but also too few. 47 on the win rate. Leica got it's a 70 for me. But you are C1 with your Laura. Well, that probably you don't get a high rank just because of one unit. You also need runes, you need artifacts, you need a comp, blah blah blah. Everything, but yeah. How do you rune Camilla full damage? By putting damage-related runes on her on Vio Blade. Moving on next, Jaeger. Jaeger, we have Scribble Bible's favorite unit over here. Let's see how that one is doing, if it's even freaking findable. Somewhere in this pile of crap. I'm pretty sure it shouldn't be that far down. Yeah, it's over there. Jaeger is not the worst, but I would only use Jaeger if you go for full turn 2 yada yada shenanigans, all of that kind of good stuff, then Jaeger might be good, but in most cases, keep that shit hidden, don't draft it. Ragdoll, however, Ragdoll actually took a proper hit, and not necessarily by its nerf, but Ragdoll took a proper hit by people, building it wrong, because now they still build it on just high tanky nonsense, and it doesn't work. And Irene is really good in Ragdoll. That is definitely a thing where Ragdoll took a proper hit, but I would still say Ragdoll is pretty darn strong. Is Ragdoll stronger or worse than a Zeratul at the moment? Ooh, that is rough to say. I do think it's better than Han in this. Yeah, I think a 92.5. I think it's still good. I think people are just still having the wrong Ragdoll where it's too tanky, and that's tanking the win rate of the Ragdoll. Oh, this was... Ooh, it's actually a little bit lower in G3. Would I maybe one down it for that? I maybe one down it for that. I would say I go for 90 because it's not picked as much. It's more of getting like a good last pick rather than like a really insane spam it all the time pick. So I think 90 is fair. I might have a little bit of a bias against Rector because I've always hated that unit since the start of the game. But I think 90 is kind of fair for him at the moment if we look at like what he's surrounded by on other units at the moment. So let's move on from there. Oh, we still have to do a Leo. How much do we see a Leo nowadays? Leo is positive in the win rate. Okay. Ban rate is still insanely high. Is most likely highest ban rate of anyone by a decent amount and also having a good win rate. Do you do better in the 4v4? Do you do worse in the 4v4? That's always the big question. Does do a lot worse in the 4v4. So if Leo's on the field, he actually loses 2% win rate. So a lot more people are scared of it and ban it, and therefore it's good. But yeah, okay, interesting. I would say is Leo 90 in current meta. It does counter a few more units such as Zinasek and that kind of stuff, but I feel like it's just 85. Yeah, Leo's often a force ban, and I think that is the main thing that he's at. He's just good as a force ban, but I still give it an 85. Also, if your Sonya is willed, then Leo's not gonna do that much shit, so that is kind of the thing. Moving on next to a monkeys. Monkey business. Monkey business actually fell off a little bit as well. The fire monkey, where it was super strong last meta, it definitely did fall off a little bit. I think in lower ranks he still does fine. No, actually in lower ranks also already falling off a little bit. 48 on the win rate, but I would still say fire monkey still an 85. It's still good, but it's definitely something that's kind of falling off. Jongnam does eat him, that's true. But also he just gets... I don't know, it just doesn't shine as much where you feel like, oh, he can solo the whole shebang that much. Also, Sekhmet skill 2, the heal block fucks him up big time. That's low-key one of those things. If you get heal blocks in your team, Monkey dies. That's the main thing. He can't go for healing on the S2. He gets fucked up. But still, I would say he's pretty good as a unit. Xingzi is decent. You might say he's good into the meta if there is a Jongnam Oliver meta. But then again, he doesn't shine that much. Which I'm actually somewhat surprised about. I expected Xingzi to do better, but it's one of those units you expect it to counter and stun the whole team at all times. And then he's like, yeah, I could, but I don't. And then you fight the enemy one, and then it's like, they do. So I'm still gonna give it 85 because he has the fear factor in there. That is the thing. Like, if you're fighting, it's like, it's gonna get me stunned every goddamn fucking turn. So I'm gonna give that Wind Monkey 85. I might be slightly overrating the monkeys, but I think they're still pretty good in their respective drafts. I'm pretty sure that's Water Monkey. Nope. Keep that shit hidden once again. Dark Monkey, most likely, same thing. Is below 1% pick rate. Does have a decent win rate, but I think it's just 1 or 2 people spamming it, and I have no clue with what, to be honest. Also, if you have an AoE stun with Jongnam, why the hell would you draft a monkey? Because Jongnam is just... I said it the moment that Jongnam was buffed, it's like, oh, this is everything that the monkey wanted to be. From the get-go. That's exactly like that. They both have a stun on skill 1, they both have strip and steal on skill 2, and they both have AoE stun on skill 3. But, yeah, no. There's a FIFA Serath Cleaver with Dark Monkey. He spams that comp, I forget. Okay, Serath Cleaving. Yeah, okay, makes sense. That definitely does make sense. But for most people, don't draft it. Light Monkey, however, I think it's an insane late pick. Ooh, that actually does represent as well in the win rate. Pick rate is incredibly low though. But I definitely do think it's one of those units that people sleep on. It's like, if you have a 5th pick where you need pushbacks in the 5th pick, just rocking in a monkey, or if you're fighting a full draft with all kinds of non-wheels and you only have one strip, it is totally fine. Like, one single target strip on the Vanessa, all of the other units pushbacks, you're good. Like, it's really, really good. I think more people should be rocking this up. I'm gonna give it 85 because it's only last pick. Therefore, we're gonna put it 80, but it's really fucking insane. Say it's Dark Monkey hater. Yeah, I am allowed to hate some units. Moving on next. You know which unit I really hate? Wu Yong. She does nothing. She has no skill 3, she has no skill 1. She just has a speed lead and a skill 2 that has a weird boost. But I actually have to put it in because it's above 1% pick rate. Who the fuck uses this? 46 win rate. So who the hell is tanking this fucking shit? 60. She's bad, man. She's bad. Don't use this. In RTA, don't use this because your whole draft is just gonna go, no. You probably need like 4 other LDs to pair with this to make it usable, and then it still loses. Can you imagine? Okay, I'll give it 65 for that reason, but that is the main thing. No, I'm actually gonna give it 60. Fuck that shit. Because if you use this without any other LDs, it's absolutely worthless. If you use it with other LDs, it's still losing. Nah. Don't do it. Well, let's talk about one that's actually better. Yanhong, what is your win rate today? 50. Kind of balanced. 13 on the pick rate. It's not as great anymore as it used to be. But I still think I give it a 90. It was a lot better in the meta where you had a lot of Sibalas in there. It was really good in the Sibala meta. But I would say in current meta, it's a little bit worse. It is still good, though. It is definitely still good. But her S2 is just very inconsistent. I don't like the inconsistency on her S2, though. In-betweener tier. In-betweener tier angle, in-between it. No, well, no, 90 is fine. 90 is fine. I was thinking maybe lowering Ragdoll and Yanhong one below, but I think they're kind of... Still 13% pick rate is a decent amount. No, I think she's still good. She's still good. Okay, moving on next to some Pioneers. Pioneer, Water, Wusa is definitely a unit that a lot of people don't really have ruined up anymore, but it still can be pretty good. 50 win rate. Just 2% pick rate, but it's one of those units like, could be a good 5th pick if you want to go for a Valkyrja plus a Wusa pick, or they already have the Valkyrja, so you go for the Wusa, but it has its usage in there. It's not crazy good, but it has a usage in there. Same for Chiwu. Yeah, sometimes, oh, she was actually kind of low on win rate. I kind of like Chiwu in some ways, where you draft it as a 5th pick, where you need a speed lead and need a strip. Like, you often have the scenarios like, ooh, I kind of have to go for a fast unit right now, but I also still need my 2nd speed lead and I need my 2nd fast unit, but I only have 1 slot left to work with. If you have that feeling, I think Chiwu could be a good option for you. So it might be something like, if you just run it like a little bit slower than the rest, but as long as you outspeed like bio units and stuff, or them if they don't have any lead and you now have 2 leads, that is definitely something that you could work with. But I'm gonna give that 75 for the Chiwu. Wunsa. Wunsa is absolutely elevated by having good other LDs. If you have a Wunsa but you have nothing else, well, there's actually 1 or 2 players that make it work. Soapstar is actually one of those players. He makes it work together with a Ren, and I think that is pretty nice as well. Of course, we have players that make it work with a lot of other LDs, like a Nefty, Steel Lang, blah, 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 and that kind of stuff. There's definitely a lot of good pairs with Wunsa. It's a very good late pick. But is it good enough without any of those? I think I'm going to give Wunsa an 85, because without the other LDs, Wunsa doesn't shine as much. And a Yanhong, for example, Yanhong is just paired with like, any of those can pair without good LDs and still do kind of fine. Wunsa, you have to go for that Ren Athena kind of draft with the Wunsa, and then you need like 3 fast sets already, which is a little bit harder to get. So I'm going to give 85 on the Wunsa for that reason. Then again, if you do have other good LDs, Woundsal legitimately comes up like 92 or 95. Like she becomes, or this thing becomes really good if you do have good other LDs to be paired with. Nigang is definitely not used. I am curious to see if the Sarion is still a thing of today. Seems to be. 46 on the win rate. Wow. We're talking about keeping shit hidden. Don't use this, apparently. Fucking hell. Yeah, Thessarian is like, if you're fighting passives, you're never fighting one passive. You're always fighting like 4 or 5 freaking passives. That's just the issue. And if you got the Oblivion now 5, you're fucked. Most of the units you want to Oblivion also fucking cleanse. So that's just like, no, man, no, ain't gonna happen. We got Alucard with a 41 months. Thank you very much. Elsharion, I'm actually curious about. I've seen some Elsharions actually do pretty decent. And there's some scenarios where I'm like, wait, this might actually be a pretty interesting unit, but probably not that high on the pick rate. Oh, win rate also not that high. Don't go for this one. Apparently not. It was just my mind seeing it in like 1 or 2 matches being good, and then it's like, yeah, that could be a good unit. And then you see like the overall stats, and you're like, nah. Pheromones, however, 51.21 on the win rate. 4.20 or 420 on the pick rate. Definitely lowered a bit on pick rate compared to last season. What changed? I'm not sure. Are we playing less dots at the moment? Could be. Still think Vermos is pretty darn good. No, Vermos is actually pretty darn good. 85 for Vermos. Yeah, that's also a thing. Like if the Tessa just doesn't land, it's Oblivion. It's just Ocarino on Ocarino. Tiana. Are people actually still using Tiana? I think if people use Tiana, they are just Nefties players. Yeah, don't use Tiana in RTA. That's the thing. Lydia. We actually had a Lydia player in the Summoners War European League, and he did very well with Lydia. Actually, that Lydia was fucking up people really hard. Yeah, that's probably just that one player. But he does have like a few good pairs for like other units and that kind of stuff. So I'm not gonna really vote Lydia high based on that. Light Polar though, it's niche. I feel like Light Polar is nice, but the big issue she has is she is just elevating the other units, but by herself she's doing kind of jack shit. Whereas if you draft in a 4th unit that does something by itself, it might be nice to make a more cohesive team rather than saying like, oh, one unit is doing a lot more of the same. And I think that's kind of our issue. There's one pair, however, that I do like her a lot in, and that's Amber. So if you do feel like you're drafting a kind of style where you often get into an Amber, this thing plus Amber just annihilates your whole team. But that is more the satisfying, like nice factor of it, rather than it actually being really good. So depending on what unit you have. 75. Frigate. I have actually seen more and more people pick up Frigate because it is somewhat of a counter into Heigang. It's just having the biggest of issues of anything that's proper fast rather than 108 base. Then again, not that bad. Not that bad for the win rate. 51, 1.84 on the pick rate. But you have to invest your absolute best sets at it to actually make it work. But if you have your whole team come around, build it, and that kind of stuff, it might actually be good. Regionong and the Zeratul, absolutely. Zeratul is fucking insane. Boosted by hand slot? Decent amount. But I think I've seen some other people like Sambi Sepp play with it. And it actually does make somewhat sense with like a more draft and that kind of stuff. And it does fuck up people that go for like Heigangs. So it's pretty nice counter into Heigang actually. Because if you boost 50, Heigang can boost up a decent amount, but it's just not gonna cut. And that makes things pretty nice for itself. But then again, you have to invest pretty insane runes to actually make it work. So, yeah, 75. Tetra. And Tetra right there. Apparently not used that much. I think in most cases where you think Tetra is good, Pheromones just does better. Most, not all. There's a few cases where the single target heal is better and extending the bombs is better, but those are somewhat rare. I'm pretty sure we don't use Poseidon in RTA, and if you do, stop doing that. Yep. Okeanos, though, we have seen a few people bringing back Okeanos. We had that with the Asian players last year in SWC, but apparently even those guys aren't doing it anymore because 46 win rate, even just under 46 win rate, is not really showing the best of greatest of showcases in current meta. I feel like that just Jongnam eats you. Sekhmet is way better. If you want to use something single target strip, then you just might as well use a Sekhmet. So, plus he's not really worth your runes, but he's above 1% pick rate, so I'm gonna place it in. If you put actual good stuff on him, I still think he's a 70-ish. Triton. I feel like Triton is only good if you have a Wunsa. Like Wunsa Triton combination, it's incredibly strong. But without that, it's just 75. Like if you go Wunsa plus Triton, then definitely a Triton becomes like 85 to whatever. But you want to have something move in front of the Triton with an AoE strip. Yeah, the only answer then is a Wunsa. So I would say 70. No, I think actually for a late pick with multiple people, like if you already have the double speed lead, it's not too bad to still have a Triton rune. So I'm gonna give that 75. He definitely does show more on the win rate, but pick rate is super low. So just gonna keep it at that. Molly is definitely not used. Pandas. What are we doing for some Pandas today? Pandas. 50 win rate, 4.5 on the pick rates. Not the craziest, but I think like a Pandas, still like an 85. Feel like that's a lot of places where you would draft him. He's kind of like in the middle if he's good enough. He's really bad into like Junos and kind of things, but I think a right positioned Pandas is still super annoying. Because you have the immunity, you have the AoE silence. The AoE silence is most of the times like something that's overlooked. It's like, oh, it's Pandas, it's just a trap or something like that. I actually don't really like the trap Pandas. I like the Pandas where it's just 100 res, Vio, and Will and kind of stuff. Moving on next, the Bay. I didn't actually put Lexi in there. I do want to quickly check because Nope, no one using that shit. The Bay, probably not that many people using that shit neither, but let's see. Nope. Still not really an RTA unit. Bastet, no. Sekhmet. Now we're talking about a good units. Sekhmet. Sekhmet is a 40% pick rate on a 49.50 on the win rate. So Sekhmet is the second most picked unit in the game, and it pairs well with pretty much all of the good speed leads. It pairs well with a Chandra, a Sierra, an Oliver. It's pretty much good with all of those. Big issue that Sekhmet has is, of course, that skill 3. If that skill 3 doesn't connect, it's just, yeah, shit for you. If that skill 2 lands like a Nefties, it's insane. If it lands like the opposite of a Nefties, give it a name, then it's really bad. But I think that Sekhmet is really, really darn insane right now. I would I almost say that Sekhmet is on a 50? Nah, I'm gonna give it a 92.5. Because she does have that inconsistency. Like, if she were to always land on the skill 3, she was like 100 or 95. But she has a lot of inconsistencies in her kit. But Sekhmet actually became very much mainly because of Sagar dropping out. People are still trying to find their like general matchup into a reset. So I think she's 95. No, I think that the resistance makes her too bad though. I think that is the main issue for her. But is she better than a Juno? She's a lot more spammable than a Juno because everyone just picks her all the freaking time. Han 90? Yeah, no, Han is fair on 90. Han is kind of elevated by other LDs. These two are not used. Isis, most likely not used. Can have a quick check at it. Nope, Isis not used. Widgets. I haven't seen too many widgets as of late. It's also one of those units. Since the widget nerf, I've never been that much of a fan of it. Like during the widget like prime meta, man, widget first pick was so insane. I played a few of those accounts, man. That thing was just like zooming, healing, being annoying as fuck. But right now, you kind of have to first pick it, but your first pick is kind of a dead pick where it just boosts the other units, which is like, eh. So yeah, I give widgets, I give it a 75. I really don't like widget that much. It's just a pair with Miles, right? Yeah, but even for Miles, like, Miles wants speed buff. This thing doesn't even give speed buff. Like, if this thing were to give speed buff, yeah, Miles, absolutely. And he becomes instantly good. But now he's just kind of weird. Andwet, which is kind of like a Gyu, good against Miles, okay-ish against Oliver. Pick rate is just really darn low, so I'm not going to put it in. But is one of those hidden units that could maybe be a thing. Oh, I actually forgot about Nefties. How can I forget about Nefties? Nefties is actually climbing on win rate again, 51. But I think most Nefties players are having either a Light Gojo, Laura, or Wunsa. Because without those three, she's not going to be as crazy. You really need like the multiple pairing of multiple units good with her to actually be good. Otherwise, Nefties is just simply not really that playable. And actually for a lot of people, Nefties is kind of like just not ruined, or she's ruined on Swift because she's not really worth the Vio runes. But if you do have those other good pairs, yeah, she's still good. But I'll give her a 90 because the 51 win actually does show. And 10% pick rate, which is still not that bad. It shows something. Maybe I should give her a little bit more love as well. Wajet really went from on par with Laura to down bad. Yeah, Wajet went down bad real bad. Watch Laura get the same fate at some point or not. Who knows? Well, Laura actually survived a lot of patch already. Laura's fucking OP. Let's nerf Nikki. That kind of shit. Well, Nikki was pretty OP in the right meta as well. But the meta shifted that much that the old Nikki right now would not be OP at this moment. So math, 45 win rate. Ooh, people are trying tech math, but tech math not working out. To be honest, I still like tech math though. I definitely do still like myself a good tech math. Big issue might be that a tech more might be more interesting. I actually do want the second more at the moment because a more full on damage is just fucking insane. It's actually a lot better than tech math because tech math, you want it to die at the right moment, which is harder to decide. And more just getting his turn with an attack buff is a lot more likely than the Samath dying at a right moment. So it is a little bit more difficult to get in at that right position. But I would say a good Samath at a good timing is still 75 for me. But this win rate, I cannot give a 46 win rate any higher than a 75. It's just, would be not done. Fire. Daphnis. 1% pick rate. As a Leo trap, I think he's okay. Anything else than a Leo trap, I don't like Daphne. So give it a 70. Ganymede. I've seen a few Korean players actually play with Ganymede, like Zizong. I don't really mind a Ganymede next to like a Water Twin Angels, but often it's kind of one of those units. It's you might as well just draft something else that maybe does a little bit more. But win rate is actually not that bad, 1% pick rate. So I think I'll give Ganymede a 75. I think Ganymede might be also a little bit underrated because in the end, there's still a lot of good pairs. Like Ganymede Gianna is fucking insane, for example. But I haven't seen people play that in ages. I haven't done that in ages. But if you start playing that, it is actually pretty insane. Maybe I should start playing that kind of shit again. Like, what's holding me back for that? Lucia? Maybe. I don't know. Or Oliver being too good? Maybe. But yeah, Ganymede, I still think Ganymede is pretty insane. So I'm gonna give him 75 for now. Oberon. One of the better nukers out there right now because of the crit rate. Pretty much similar win rates as Ganymede. I think I'm gonna give that a 75 as well. It's just mainly a 5th pick. If you build your whole team around it with the Shizuka, yada yada, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff, it is definitely a little bit better, but we go for consistency. We have the 3 Fairy Kings in a row. Nyx, however, Nyx, the inconsistency of the inconsistencies himself. With a resistance lead, while he wants to resist to give A to B. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Is Nyx really bad? I think Nyx is good if you pair him with other units that already land the debuffs. Big issue, however, is you're super food for Juno and Varamos right there. And it's just hard to make a draft where it actually does fit all units like there, but he can RNG you at the right moment, so I'm gonna give Nyx an 80 for that. I think he has a little bit more value than the units up in, or like down in here, so 80 for Nyx for that reason. Going into Misty, which is actually a pretty interesting unit. At the right draft, can definitely solo a bunch of units if the enemy doesn't have too much damage out there. What's our win rate? Ooh, holy fuck! Damn! Maybe I should give some love of those Tian Lang artifacts. If I didn't have the Tian Lang and the artifacts that are good for light on Tian Lang, I might have tried more Misty, but what the fuck is this win rate? I'm not sure if this is a fluke if more people start playing it, but that is actually pretty insane. I want to give Misty an 80 for that reason. I've seen a lot of good Misty games, though. Yeah, it maybe might be the... like, what is it good against? It's not really good against Oliver, but it is really good against Jongnam. Like, it really eats Jongnam super badly, so... you have to pick it in the right moment, But if it's picked in there, it's very hard to deal with and very hard to kill. So also against Junos, let's say the enemy has like Jongnam, Juno, Yeon Hong, and an Oliver. You have to constantly push this thing back, but at some point this thing just starts outpacing the Oliver and you're fucked. So yeah, I think that this thing is actually pretty good. Yeah, 80. I kind of like that on 80. But you need good artifacts for him. Good vampire runes, preferably Revenge on the offset. And you just want to go speed, crit rate, HP, or even speed, HP. Or something like that. I kind of like the crit rate on the 4 though, because you do skill from your own speed as well in like the damage gain, so it's not just all artifacts. Moving on next to some pandas now. Let's actually do the Racuni first. Racuni, the only 3-star without an 2A that we actually do tend to draft. And I will be really annoyed if they make it a 2A of it. What the fuck is this rat doing? Fucking 50 win rate on a 6% pick rate for fucking Racuni? Okay, Racuni is still insane. Is Racuni more insane? No, Racuni is actually fucking 85 insane. Wow, okay. I'm surprised that his win rate is doing that well. No, I'm just gonna give it 80. I don't want to give it too much credit. Because I still feel that in often the draft, an Angela is better. Yeah, I think you're right. The Miles Oliver red spam make it work. Because without Oliver Miles, the red doesn't do as much. Yeah, that's pretty true. I think that's a good point. Because in other cases, I would say that an Angela is better, a Gapso is often better, and those two will end up higher than this. And I don't think that they are 90, so I'm gonna put the red in 80. Then the pandas, which people did say off, it's like, oh, you pulled the Tian Leng, so you're gonna lower it in the tier list right away right now. Well, we're gonna see about that. First of all, Molong, 48, not too bad. 48 high. It's still just a late pick snipe unit, so it's about 75-ish rank. Like, it's one of like a lot of the 75s are like either if you put like very good effort into it, they could kind of work, but it's not that great. Did you miss the Bay? Yeah, the Bay is still sitting in here on a 0.5% pick rate. You're not spamming it enough, sorry, my man. Feng Yanger. About same. I think it's also, like, the whole 75 is just, like, good late picks. If you put well enough effort to the runes of it, you can spam it more often. That's pretty much all there is to the 75 tier. Then we go, I first want to go Miying. First Miying. Miying actually became kind of 0 to hero. Holy shit. 52.5 win rate on 10% pick rate. That is actually one of the higher win rates, ain't it? Why is this light doing that? Okay, now both lights are doing this. Calm the fuck down. Switch. Yep, good. Stay like that. Thank you. But yeah, he definitely went some 0 to hero on there. If we go 2%, he is pretty darn high up. Wow, he's pretty much 0 to level. Wow, damn. And I think that's also a fair thing. He is 0 to level. Is he better than 0 to though? That is kind of my question. Is he better than a 0 to? He has more pick rate. He has a little bit less win rate. Your twins 95. 1v1, yeah, who would win the 1v1? Now Zeratul wins that 1v1. Zeratul should absolutely smack that 1v1. Yeah, 100%. There's no losing between that. But in all a general sense, I would say that Miying counters more of the top units than a Zeratul does. Whereas Zeratul is a little bit more spammable, Miying is more of those counter picks. Zeratul is never bad. Yeah, that's the same thing. Whereas Miying kind of needs his right draft to shine. I think I'll keep them on the same level. Like, one is not better than the other. I think they're kind of same. But then the other Panda, well, we right away see it over here. 52.77. Fucking insane. And it's a 17.5 pick rate. Must say it's super high elevated by having it paired with these two units. Like, the moment that I pulled the Tian Leng, I was checking, like, oh, what are the players with the highest win rate on Tian Leng? What are they playing? Maybe I can, like, kind of do a similar thing. 9 out of the 10 players had a Laura, and 7 out of the 10 players had a Laura plus a Light Gojo. I'm like, okay, that's something I can do. And the final one, the 10th one, only had a Light Gojo. So that is definitely a thing out there. However, Tian Leng is still, by its own respect, fucking insane. And Tian Leng gets, in my opinion, does it get a 95 or 100? I think 95, because he's more of a counter pick. He's not a spam pick. He's only becomes a spam pick if you have those other insane LDs. Well, some units do, like for example, Zeratul doesn't really need other LDs to shine, and same for Mi Ying. Like there's a few units that need good LDs to shine. Would have been 100 if you didn't pull it? Would it have been? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think his first pick potential is just better. But is it better than Gianna? No, I think Gianna's kind of on the same tier. Well, the thing is, like, if I were to pull what I could do, does that make sense? I kind of have a feeling that I want to put Zeratul and this to this, make another in-betweener tier, put those two in there. Yeah, I think I do. It gets a little bit weird, but bear with me. Row below. And the main reason that Tianlang is not 100 is it's not spammable. If Tianlang was spammable, then yes, but like this. Can you change Laura to... I'll take it off the list. Yeah, I think it's going to be like this because the 100 spot is already reserved for you. I can give you that much. I might argue that you would actually get in here as well. The main reason that I would say Light Gojo is a lot better than these two is because it's first pickable. First pick gives you so much value to give a best set to. Because if you're not drafting your Tianlang, you still have an insane set on your Tianlang. So that kind of goes to waste. But if you always draft your Light Gojo, it always ends up using your best set. So yeah, that's kind of thing. Silver though, ooh, silver. I think silver by win rates, if we just look purely by win rates, it would end up more like this rank than this rank. But since silver is also first pickable, I think I might give it 100. But then again, silver doesn't need insane runes though. I feel like silver might also end up at 100. Like uncontested 33, and you can first pick your speed lead 33. Like that's just having a first pick potential of a really good unit is just so much higher value. And 90% of the time you want to first pick speed leads. So yeah, I think that silver ends up at 100 too, yeah. That's the only reason that those two are not at 100. Gianna's not first pickable, because if you do, you're fucked. And Tianlang is not spammable. Those are the only two reasons that these two are not 100. But otherwise, they would be. To be honest, Jongnam is gonna get high up on this shit as well. I wouldn't be surprised Jongnam, either one of those two. I'm not 100% sure yet. Jongnam is definitely higher than this. I think Jongnam ends up next to Gianna, not gonna lie. But we're gonna get there in a second. Moving on next. Ponies. Oh, we're gonna get into the live pony in just a second. But first off, Helena. Helena is 1% pick rate. It's just a Leo counter, but it's not the best of it. 70, very simple. Not gonna waste too much time on that. Diana. Diana. 52.75 on the win rate. Not bad. I'm kind of curious how good / bad she is into Jongnam meta. Because Jongnam meta also has Oliver, but Oliver kind of wastes the turn to hit her and push her back. So she still kind of has value in there. So I feel like that Diana current meta, if more people start using it, it definitely will drop a little bit in win rate. But I feel like that the current meta, she has short cooldowns. And she is kind of okay into the Sekhmet Oliver Jongnam scenario. So I feel like that Diana might actually be pretty nice. Zeratul is better than Jongnam? I don't know. Gio's insane right now. I'm actually, I saw your Gio on crit rate, and actually a few hours before I saw your Gio on crit rate, I also changed mine to crit rate. Because that's something that people told me like way back. I think like Korea SWC 22 or something. It's like, oh, you should run it on crit damage. Never actually tried it, but here's to see how that will work out. Because the moment that you have Karma on something, you will do damage from enemy max HP, which is pretty nasty. Crit damage Diana? Yep, absolutely crit damage Diana. Is Nafty spammable? Only if you have other LDs to pair it with. But then again, I wouldn't first pick Nafties. It's definitely not her meta to be first picked. Because then it's just instantly Vermos Juno, have fun. I am looking for a dark pony. Where the hell are you at? Pretty sure that that should be used to a certain extent. Probably being blind as fuck. You're right over there. Okay, that's too low of pick rate, but then again, I want to give it some credit for high win rate. But it is, once again, 75 tier. It's like the good 5th pick tier. Light Pony, however, is one of those heavy sacking units. And I think if you crazy sack, it's incredibly good. It actually wins more in the 4v4. I'm surprised about that. Wow, okay. I'm personally not the biggest fan of this unit, but I don't want to be biased, or at least as little biased as I can be. And this win rate is absolutely fucking absurd. So I do have to give credits to that. I'm not sure what it's best paired with. She's just really good at sacking. But if she doesn't sack, she feels really bad. You found some junk. Thank you. You are junk. But yeah, if she sacks, she really sacks hard. That is the main thing. So do I give that the 95 or do I give that a 92? She is higher on the win rate, but also a decent amount less on the pick rate. I think a 92.5 in my opinion, but might be a bias that I do have it. I think also people don't know how to play into her because the moment she's in uniform or unicorn form, she's fucking easy to kill. She's like the moment she's in unicorn form, 2-hit her. Like that's all you have to do. Let me explain you that much. Anything will fucking 2-hit her in unicorn form. She's so fucking squishy. Or not in unicorn form, in human form. In human form, she's absolutely fucking squished. So I think the moment people figure that part out, she's a little bit worse. But yeah, she is pretty good sack into that kind of shit. You like Zeratul and Eleanor more often than Miying? I feel like Miying is it's just a nasty value of that armor break that he provides that's also set up for other units. Nah, fuck it. Gonna put the Light Pony in here. Too high win rate. Fuck off. Simple as that. Win rate bias in there. I don't care. Tablo. Are people actually using that shit? Is used. Wouldn't really recommend to do that. Once again, 75 tier. If you put good runes on it, might be something to use it. I have seen some people actually draft more Celias. Just beside Pinkroyd. Pinkroyd just likes to play weird shit with all of his LDs. But I've seen some other people also pick up Celia. And I have no clue why. That is the main thing. Yeah, keep that shit hidden. 40% win rate. Keep that shit hidden. We got a Vivachel. That should be definitely more higher up. Low on the win rate. 49. Ew. I expected more. Well, Vivachel is also one of those units. I spoke about it earlier with Chimera. You want your Chimera to move at the exact perfect moment. And Vivachel kind of has that same issue as well. You want to move at the perfect moment, and that is just so good. I think also a lot of people that use Vivachel have too much of a ragdoll brain and they can't make it work. Just called you out right there, I don't give a shit. But yeah, like if people weren't like, yeah, Leo Viva, I would like to see all Viva games without Leo in this. I think her pick rate would be a lot lower, but her win rate would be insane high. Absolutely agree, Obabo. Absolutely agree. Yeah, fuck that shit. Do we give her 90 though, or is 85 fine? Well, also, what a lot of people do wrong, why the fuck do you go HP slot 4 on this thing? This thing has a skill 1 that crits according to its speed. Fucking go crit rate on that shit, man. She has insane base sets. We had back in the days, Triana was a damage dealer for us in Siege. Sometimes a tank, but often a fucking damage dealer. She has net 5 base stats and a Triana skill 1. She does insane damage. All you need is artifact skill 1. Pop, damage. But yeah, people are just like, no, I want to be tanky. Well, 85. Fine. Moving on next, we got some... I actually saw that Josephine had a proper high win rate. I think Josephine is also... We were talking earlier about the Fire Monkey dropping out of meta slightly. I think Josephine is one of those good reasons. Because the monkey's often without any buffs. And then if the Josephine hits it for 2-turn provoke, that monkey's just doing nothing. And then the monkey also stuns the Josephine and gets the whole team a shield. So... Josephine, 50 win rate. I'm actually not surprised about it. 8% pick rate. Josephine is not bad. 85. 85 it is right there. Ophelia, people don't use. Do people use Leonas? Leona. Nope. She's good into Gianna as well. Yep, definitely. I should give some more love to Josephine as well. She is still having kind of a little bit of that sack feeling like, oh, if she procs out of, like, after the passive, she has the passive right away shenanigans. But I think even without that, she still does pretty decent. She's just kind of bad into all of her. That's the main thing. Oliver is still her fear and her nemesis on that. Abellio, good old Abellio. Here. 52 win rate. Jesus, Abellio. Calm the fuck down. But I think Abellio's just, it's like a 5th pick. It's kind of 75 tier, but too good in win rate to be 75 tier. That is the same. Yeah, I think that is a fair thing. It's kind of like Diana. It's really good at counter a few specific things. Belinus, if it is high enough on pick rate, it most likely ends up at 75 tier. 14% pick rate, or 0.40% pick rate. Yeah, it doesn't end up there. Valantis, the unit that has one of the biggest issues with its base speed, is actually on a pretty good win rate, 51.73. Personally, I would not like to pull a Valantis, because, well, where I do actually have good Despair sets, I don't want to throw a fucking 195 Despair set at a Valantis. Because that's what Valantis needs to outspeed the rest of your shit. But who the fuck has a 195 Despair set that is not already on the other units, right? Like, what, my 195 Despair is on Juno. Like, his base speed is just making it bad. Plus, he's inconsistent on his provokes, which also just makes it, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like that he's still 85 because of the counter value. Like, the moment that he goes for a counter, he's good into a Moor, good into a Wusa, that kind of stuff. Good into Ethnas. That kind of stuff. Neftis is downgraded. No, Neftis was actually... I would say that Neftis' previous one is probably 85. Now it's a little bit up again. Do we give that 85? It has good enough win rate that I have to put it 85. I can't really get away with putting it 80, but personally, for me, it feels more like an 80 than it feels 85. But then again, it's definitely something that you have to get the good runes in, because he just needs Despair. You can't get away on Swift. Vader can get away on Swift. Vio is a lot better, but also kind of has the same issue. You want it to be faster than your whole team. Plus has the issue where the moment he is in the Druid form, or like the Bear form, yeah, the moment he's in the Bear form, he loses the passive. So, I don't know. I would still say that Valantis is a pretty good late pick, though. He had 4% pick rate, though. I don't know. I think he's still good. Vader, yeah, 85, I think it's fine. I feel like Vader, it's really good into Gianna, but besides that... Would Valantis owners be happy if he lost the counter but got speed? Oh, rough to say. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you would be too happy about that, because you cannot really use him as main strip as well. The counter value is the thing that is good about him in the first place, I would say. Because his provoke is kind of on low odds, but I don't know. 85, I think both of them 85 is kind of fine. Moving on next, we have Bolvik. Not really a meta where Bolvik shines that much, but if people start drafting more Water Gojos, he might actually show up a little bit more. 49 win rate, 2% pick rate. It's not the worst. I would say, once again, 75 tier. A lot of units end up in 75 tier today. Geldnir most likely ends up in 75 tier as well. I do like Geldnir in the right position. It's definitely one of those things that's just annoying hard to kill. Oh, people apparently don't use that. Surprised. I feel like Geldnir in the right position is not bad. Moving on next, Bella. Recently pulled it. Couldn't really find her right spot for me to work with her. Yeah, also pick rate. Whoa, Jesus. I thought I was going to be biased saying like, I just couldn't really find her spot to make it work, but apparently I'm not the only one. Her pick rate is 0.75 and win rate is 47, which is pretty darn low. So technically she doesn't even have to be on the list. She's below 1% pick rate. Yeah, I think that's it's not necessarily a nerf. It's just a shift of meta and other units being good. So I still think she's 75, but it's once again one of those units, like if you put the good runes to it, if you put the good effort to it, she can shine. But yeah, there's just other units with single target that are better, like especially with the Zenitsus right now, absolutely. And also she's kind of a damage dealer from just artifacts, but her base stats say, I want to be attack, but you're not scaling from the attack artifacts, you're scaling from the HP artifacts. So if she gets higher base HP and higher base defense, she would be pretty good. Because she has a lot of attack right now, which she doesn't actually need. Replacing the Twin Angels. I saw you play with the Twin Angels. Actually, it did look pretty funny, though. I'm curious to see what the win rate on that is later, because I don't think many people use it, but I might be tempted to play it myself as well. It has some value to it, with like the weird immunity and that kind of stuff at the right moment. And increased cool... That one has increased cooltime, right? I would have to double check the skills because I'm not super familiar with them. Mephisto. I'm pretty sure no one uses this shit. People tend to use that in the Nana meta, but we're pretty far from a Nana meta as well. Yep. Dark Demon, I just want to see it. I just want to see it. One of the very few units that has never been buffed ever. Therefore, I picked it for my blessing rather than the Miying. I regret. But yeah, then again, could have never known, right? In hindsight, it is very easy to say you should have went for the Miying, but in logical sense, the Dark Demon made more sense to get a buff. Actually, win rate is not bad, but 0.50 pick rate, so fuck that shit, I'm not gonna put it in. We going for Beast Riders. Barbara did get a buff to get lower cooldown on the skill 3. Biggest issue for Barbara, in my opinion, is that her skill 3 just doesn't boost enough if there's no armor break on it. Yeah, that's just too hard to use, so that. Also, funny enough, Savannah finally got the resistance awakening removed and is now barely picked. It's actually not that bad of a unit. I think if more people give Savannah love, she would actually do pretty decent. But then again, unit that does still get a lot of love, Masha. 6% for the pick rate, around 50 for the win rate. It's not super high, but I think Masha's still pretty solid. 80 right there. Do we field higher than 80? Do we field 85? No, to be honest, I think Masha, especially with Oliver, it is that she kind of gets fucked by a Jongnam. But since she gets fucked by Jongnam, I like Masha more right now on Will. Because if she gets her first Will turn, then she can keep getting like the immunity back and that kind of stuff. And where she's stunned, she doesn't get the immunity. So I think Masha on Will is a lot better because of the Jongnam right now. If more people start picking up Masha on Will, I think she will definitely become higher in win rate as well. So I will still give that 85, but I might be slightly biased to that extent because I kind of like it for my Masha to work that way. Narsha, however, kind of low on the pick rate, but I think it's one of those units I would give it 80. You have to give it a lot of love to make it good, but if you give it a lot of love, it does insane fucking damage. Sienna, I do know some people playing it, but those guys have like insane fucking sets. And I think it's just legitimately one person playing it. And that is Sambi Sepp. And Sambi Sepp has like 140, or I don't know, 124 efficiency set on that Sienna, which is all on perfect stats. Yeah, that's not really working out. That's not really working out. Couple of birds, nope. Hey gang! The unit that is still the most hated in game. Win rate, however, is kind of low, 47. That's always the thing with Heigang for I don't know how many patches already. Like, look at this, 46 in the 4v4. That's terribly low. And I've noticed it myself as well. It's very common with Heigang to end up with a draft where you simply don't have enough juice and you don't kill shit. And that is kind of the Heigang issue. But then again, I still have to give him value because in the end, it's still one of the few counters against one of the better units in game, like Gianna, bunch of strips, annoying things. It's still very good. But win rate, it's just, I don't know. Big like Smice back then, fails on win rate. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, but I think 85 is fine on it. But I think a lot of people, like, it's also like Antares back in the days, like, oh, I'm losing the draft. Heigang, go. I'm losing the draft, Antares, go. Like, I think that is definitely a thing as well. But I think also a lot of the time where Heigang is picked early or too early, there's just too little juice and you just can ignore the whole Heigang scenario. It's like, oh, you pick Heigang? Well, then I'll just go like full-on Bruiser. Who cares? Like, I'm not going to AoE CC. So, yeah, I would say Heigang 85. Is that a drafting issue? More or less, but I don't really feel Heigang on the 90 these days. No, personally not. 85 I think is high enough. Like, comparing his win rate to the rest of the bunch in here, or the first pick / spam ability of those, I think that's kind of fine. Jongnam is definitely, or wait, Jogun is definitely not used. Chungpung definitely might make a little bit of a return. Where do we see Chungpung? How much of a return do you make? 2.5% on 52 win. Ooh, okay, that is definitely something. Yeah, that's definitely something that a lot of people don't have runed up anymore, and I think more people should start runing up again. Because it's 5th pick material. It's only 5th pick material, but it's very good 5th pick material. So, It's kind of like the Light Monkey. Like, if you don't... Like, Light Monkey does it better, but if you do find the right draft for a Chunk Punk to be fit in, he is nice, so I will give that an 80. Doesn't get too much of the spam ability, because, like, if you pick it too early, Lucia's, blah, 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 that kind of stuff, you don't want to fight that. Mugwol. Actually, the main Mugwol spammer that we had, which was Osada-san, is not playing it anymore, so I have low faith for this unit. I already had low faith for it before. Yeah, it's just not picked enough anymore. So it's not going to make it into the list. Now we have more, and more is definitely high elevated by spamming it with more LDs. Haha, more. How good is more at the moment? Is he better than the others? Nah, he's like an 85. He's like an 85. Main thing is where more wants to be despair, but if you despair him, he gets fucked by Heigang, so you don't. So everyone goes on Vio Swift. Vio is not bad, but it's also not crazy for him. He does get the attack buff though. And you can make tech more. I like tech more, like a high damage. I want the second more just to make a more on a super high crit damage set, because that is actually insane. Like, the amount of damage that a more can do is fucking absurd. I would say that the more is more of a tech math than tech math itself at the moment, because you can decide when you do the damage, rather than the enemy kind of decides when you go for the kill, which makes it a little bit more rough, whereas more just always moves on an AoE. Do I value him higher than the bunch that is in here, though? No, I think 85 is a fine value for him. Moving on, Douglas. Douglas did have a lot of issues with Chandras, and for that reason kind of fell off a bit. Let's see what the win rate shows at the moment. 2% pick rate, 48 on the win rate. Not that crazy, but we have a good tier for that, the 75 tier. And Jongnam's, true. Jongnam's skill 2, eat him alive. Talisman, do people actually use that shit in RTA? Would be funny. Not enough, and also low win rate. How about Van Cleef? Decent win rate, but not enough as well. Carnal. I talked about the Carnal meta earlier, and the Carnal meta is pretty much initiated this case by Skid. And it's a high damage, super high efficient Carnal. If you give that thing a lot of love, he's nice. But without that, I think you should be drafting something else. So I'm going to give that a 75. Like, it's same thing as the Pra. If you give it a lot of love, it's definitely a good unit. But it is still based on a lot of, like, okay, you have to turn 2 without passives. So it's more about, like, okay, I hope that the enemy doesn't go for full AoE or full snipes me or anything like that. I kind of have to resistance and proc my way through it. And then it works, but yeah, if you give it a lot of love, it's definitely like 80-ish, maybe 85. But for most people, I wouldn't really start drafting Carnal out of random. Cigar, the unit that kind of fell off. It's mainly lowered in win rate, or lowered in pick rate. Win rate is still pretty decent. Actually, for a lot of people, I would recommend to build a Swift Cigar at the moment. And the reason for Swift Cigar is because you maybe, if you're right now putting Cigar in storage because you don't have the runes for it, put it on Swift. Let's say it that way. If you still have the runes for it and it's still fine on the current build you have, keep it as is, no worries. Maybe draft it a little bit less because it's not as good as a slot 2, slot 3 pick. It's more of like a slot 4, slot 5 pick in my opinion right now. But a slot 4, slot 5 pick on Swift is definitely fine because that's where you can still get the right edge of the right speed, being super tanky. Sure, you can't go for the additional turn right now, but it's more on like if your Cigar is really good in place, if it lands its first skill, match is kind of over anyways. Plus, Cigar has pretty good skill 1, skill 2 anyway, so I think Swift is kind of okay for it. If you don't have another like 195 set on it, because he has pretty low base HP, or base speed, HP. Yeah, you care about the base speed, so for that reason, Swift is kind of okay for it, but I give it an 85. I think he's kind of fair in the 85 quadrants with the other units. A Greg? I've seen some people use it, but not that much. Gurkha? I actually, for some reason, feel like Gurkha's underrated. Because Gurkha, in the end, the only thing that Gurkha doesn't have anymore is healing. Besides that, Gurkha can still go off as much as it went off in prior days. It isn't big much, but the win rate does show that when he is in the draft, he actually fucks people up. Okay, no, people ban him. But yeah, since he's that low on pick rate, I'm just not gonna place him in. But I feel like that more people could be picking up a Gurkha. You do have to have some healers next to him, though. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if I see Gurkha, I'm like, fuck no. Like, every time he is in the draft where he feels good, he feels so good, I just have to ban it, like, insta. Shizuka, the old school second unit. I would say I give Shizuka an 80. I don't really feel like Shizuka's 85 for me at the moment. I feel like that her win rate does kind of represent 85, but the whole meta is based on fucking resetters. We have resetters, all of her resetters, cigar resetters. There's just so much resetters in there that I don't really feel like Shizuka drafts are that crazy. Plus, I still really feel like, oh yeah, I bring a Shizuka into a Gianna. I proc out. Oh, and I stun your whole team. I win. Like, yeah. Yeah, that's maybe more my hate for the unit than the unit being good or bad. But I feel Shizuka being 80. Might argue for 85, but that is as far as I would go. Tomoe. I'm not a big Tomoe fan. Neither is the win rate. 44.55. Holy shit. Keep that shit hidden, man. Holy fucking hell. Yeah, I feel like still 75 tier because in the right draft, at the right moment, I still feel like she has good value. But she also kind of has the landing issue. But yeah, 75. I feel like it's based on win rate, she would have absolutely been 70, but I feel like she still has some value. I think she's not that bad. She's kind of bad, but not that bad. Gyu. As Obaba was mentioning it before, crit rate Gyu on not too much speed. Gyu spent a lot in current meta. It's definitely the return of... It's good into Oliver and Jongnam and it's trying to counter one of the two, or like two of the most difficult units to counter. But I think if more people rock it on crit rate, and then the suppress debuff actually makes it where you do damage on enemy max HP, and that's actually proper scaling from it. It's actually a decent amount. I think it is pretty decent as a unit. I think more people might pick it up to the effect that... I think most people are not gonna like it for it being picked up that much. I'm very happy that I have a TL length to counter this piece of shit. Let's call that much. But yeah, I think Gyu might be an answer. Like, if you really struggle into the Sekhmet, Jongnam, and Oliver, Gyu kind of counters all three to a certain extent. Maybe not really the Sekhmet, but it counters Sekhmet to the extent that resetting her is a waste of a skill. And if people do that, you're just like, yeah, cool, man, you wasted your skill. You get the cooldowns back fast anyway. So I think Gyu on 85 might actually not be that bad, but I would go crit rate on it. And not too fast, maybe 230 to 250 or something like that, because you get 35% attack bar per every freaking skill that the enemy does anyways, which is insane. We got a Seimei. How is Seimei rocking for win rate today? Actually not that high. Seimei has a lower pick rate and lower win rate than Veramos. That is pretty interesting. I think she is still better though. In my opinion, she's still 90. Because in the right draft, she's so much of a must-ban. How is she in the match compared to out of the match? She has a pretty high ban rate. I think she has higher ban rate than Veramos. I think she's still 90 compared to Veramos. Or do I? I don't know. Is this going YouTube? Yes, of course. Of course, of course. Do I feel like that Veramos is better than her? It's kind of hard to say. Like, against heal blocks, Veramos is absolutely better. Anything else, Seimei is most likely better. Plus, Seimei has the counter into immunity 3 turns and that kind of shit. No, I'll keep Seimei higher. Yeah, I'll keep Seimei higher because this thing does have the stunts, but Seimei also making the enemy immunity things and attack buffs and all of that shit 1 turn is pretty insane. So I'm gonna get Seimei a 90 for that reason. Duman. Well, let's see what Duman does these days. Definitely has an issue with Irene being on the field. Veramos is higher on win rate, yeah. Was it? Oh, it's about the same, actually. Yeah, it's a little bit higher. 0.5 higher for the Veramos. And the Veramos is higher pick rate. But I think 90 is fine on her. But Duman is actually a 50-50 win rate. Yeah, she definitely has the issue with Irene being on the field right now, kind of doing her job, but maybe better. Arguable thing if it's better or not. But the big issue is if she gets put in the back, her skill 3 just is removed. Plus, she can miss her skill, and that's kind of the thing that just makes her like, But still, for me, Dumon is so often like, I think she is she one of the highest banned units in game? Yeah, she's number 3. I'm not surprised about that. Like, the moment I see this shit, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing bruiser shit, man, and get that shit off the field, man. I don't want to be playing that shit. So yeah, she's actually pretty high on ban rate. Vermos is actually higher ban rate than Seimei. Interesting on that. But still, I feel like Seimei has a little bit more value than a Vermos. Okay, and moving on. Next, what do we have? We got some... We did see a few kinkies in the leagues, but... It's once again one of the 75 tier. If you put well enough effort to it, it does okay, but most of the time, maybe something else would be better. Onmyouji, I kind of give him the same thing. It is just 2% pick rate. Win rate is not that bad. Would I give him 1 up on the rest of the units? I do think so, because he kind of uses runes that the other units don't really use at all. So I think I give Onmyouji still an 80. Might have some Onmyouji owners in here that might be like, yeah, that's too much. But I think that Onmyouji in the right draft, if you build your whole team around Onmyouji and stuff, I think it's still pretty good. But it's not like the insane tier that it used to be. Absolutely not, no. Is that fair? Is it like Narsha level, for example? Kind of. Suiki has too low base stats. It just has too much issues with surviving, so would not really recommend to draft that thing. Yeah, 40% win rate. That's why you keep that one hidden. Kaki not Nana. Nana's also one of those units surviving 3-4 nerfs and still being decent-ish. With the ish part in there. Do I say Nana is on 80 tier? Yeah, I do think still. Nana's also trying to counter Sonya, which is one of the better units in game right now, and she's doing a rough job at it, but she's one of the few that actually does have like a decent shot at doing it, so I think 80 for Nana is fair for that reason. Coco was recently buffed. I made mine as a 100 res Leo tank again. Actually didn't have a single match where I drafted her in. But I see the vision where she could be good. Most people haven't seen the reason to draft her yet. Let's check Kiki. Just a good 5th pick. 40% win rate, not a good 5th pick. Okay, never mind. I said nothing. Let's move on to units that are actually picked. Miles. Miles' win rate in G3 is actually low as fuck. 46. I think that's also... It has something to do with like Chandra being that good. Chandra's just pretty good into Miles with the slow. Still think that Miles... I think Miles in G3 is maybe 80. But Miles everywhere else is probably higher up. Like, especially the moment you go like Punisher or Conqueror rank, I think that Miles is way better. But G3, I would give Miles an 80. John not used. Oliver. Oliver survived 6 nerfs and is still back to the most picked unit in game. Wait, that is in Conqueror rank in G3. Yeah, by a long shot even, like 50%. Wow, that's insane. And most of the time it's first picked. It's the highest first pick unit in game. Wow, that's just insane. So yeah, once again, we go back to an Oliver meta. Where do we put Oliver? 95? Yeah, I think 95. Yeah, I don't think Oliver is back to like Gianna kind of level or some stuff, no. It gives you a lot of value for a lot of options for drafts. But he is still lacking a few things, like the moment he gets resisted, he has 1 turn off, that kind of stuff. But Oliver is definitely strong, and by the looks of it, he's stronger than any of the other elemental units right now, which is a fair statement. So yeah, I would say that Oliver 95 is fair. Jackson, Amodense's favorite unit. The unit that does so much that it's just a passive totem and just sits there on the field. Wait, where are you at? He's back. 0.61. I'm just gonna put him in here. It's so bad, man. I hate this unit. He's so bad, man. I haven't seen a single fucking draft where he's actually proper and good. Now, the big issue is, like, it's the same thing as some units which really support other units to boost more, but you might as well put a unit in there that actually does something and then boosts. Like, it's just, no, man. Nah. I'll give him 60 for the effort. He has the highest stun rate, but you kind of have to put a good despair set on him, which you don't want to miss. But if you have a good despair left over that's faster than all of your units, I'm not sure what his base is, but then, yeah, he's okay on despair, but on Swift or Vio, he's just wasting your Vio turns. It's, in my opinion, the same thing about the Seime on Vio is just wasting your Vio chances. He's worse for sure. Have you seen the win rate on this thing? Wait, you probably missed that one. Okay, it's pretty much as bad. It's just more pick rate. Okay, fuck you. Don't use that shit. Keep that shit hidden. Keep it in storage. Don't let it get out of there. Robo time. This Robo not used. Wind Robo. I think all of the Robos kind of left the meta-ish as well. Yeah, Wind Robo 46. It's definitely not shining as much anymore as it used to be. I think a late pick, like a 5th pick, Wind Robo is still really good. Especially if the enemy is all on non-Swift units, is all on non-Fire units. Picking a late Robo is still really good. You only need like a 210 or 205 set on it to outspeed most of the shenanigans in there. Let's check about Dark Robo. I definitely do think it took a little bit of hit as well. Yeah, 49. It's still a little bit better. I think Dark Robo is still more of people actually trying to spam it. And if you spam it, it's still kind of okay. Kind of lost its value, but it's kind of okay. Fire Megami makes Robo worse. True. That's definitely a factor in there as well. But maybe I'm valuing the Dark Robo a little bit too much in here. No, actually, you are just a good 5th, and I'm gonna put Dark Robo in here, because I feel like both of them, it's not really their meta. You have to put too much work in all of them to make it work, but in higher ranks, it just doesn't really work that way anymore. I think in lower ranks, you probably kind of can get away with it, but in higher ranks, nah. You rather use those Fire Runes or something else on something else in the first place. Last time around, I actually missed this unit, Ella, which I do think that was a bad miss, because she actually does have a decent amount of pick rate, which... She is okay-ish with bruiser units. She is okay-ish with, like, nuking units like Federica and stuff. And, yeah, I think that she actually... I underrated her. I think she's actually pretty low-key. She's not, like, insane, but I feel like she has some value. Definitely an 80 right there, at least. Yeah, I think she's good with, like, Federicas and stuff, but it's also kind of the position, like, can she do enough? I don't know. But I'll give that an 80. I think 80 is fine. The others are not used, and if you use them, don't. Well, I want to give a little bit of a try to a Riley. What do we have for Riley these days? Riley. Where are you at? Probably higher up, right? Yep. Okay, 1.5 pick rates. But I'm not really liking myself Riley these days. We'll get there at some point. We're just following the list from A to Z. Carlos. Carlos is one of those units that's trying to counter Sonya. That's its main objective. It's actually doing a better job at it than I thought it would. 50 on the win rate. Okay. I'll give Carlos an 80 then. I think maybe I should give a little bit more love to Carlos as well, because if you struggle with Sonya, Carlos might be your answer until Sonya goes for zoop, that Carlos, which is a potential in there as well. But yeah. Let's see how Mr. Family is doing, aka the Dom. Where are you at, Mr. Dom? Win rate. Oh, wow, Jesus. It's 100% boosted by people always using some kind of attack buff. I think Nikki right now, before Nikki was kind of good in position where you could always do that with Dom, but I think right now it more needs like a Kovaci kind of style. Without Kovaci, it's... You need that attack buff and the attack boost kind of to make it properly work. So Sigurd is a good option, Kovaci is a good option, but without those, I'm not too sure. Win rate definitely shows more than this, but I'm just gonna keep it at 80. Greg is an option, is a good option for Dom as well. The biggest option, or the biggest issue for Dom is the moment you drop it under 50% attack or 50% HP, his damage just goes like down to nothing. Light Twin Age is a good one too. It's definitely a good one. Maximilian. Amodan's second favorite unit. It's actually, for win rate, it's not that bad. I expected worse, like, not gonna lie. 48, closing in on 49. It's not that bad. but I feel like it's just not his meta. That's the main thing. I'm gonna put it 75 for if you build a whole team around it, it can do good. But he's probably not really worth your stuff. In lower tiers, it's actually in lower ranks, does fine, yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good point. In lower ranks, it does feel strong, but in higher ranks, all you gotta do is throw 33 leads and speed awakening units at it. Maxi's gonna have a bad day, and then you pair that with a Fire Megami. Maximilian is gonna have a real bad day. And then you pair that with a more that is on attack, more that is on high damage. Maximilian is gonna have, once again, a very bad day. Like, that is 3 bad days for more already. He's out. Like, that's 3 strikes, you're out. So, yeah, that's just kind of the issue with this thing. I think in lower ranks, people haven't really figured that out yet. But the moment that they start figuring more out, I think that it definitely does do that much. Also, for Maximilian, or figuring Maximilian out, the moment that people have Maximilian plus a Wunsa, it is definitely a lot stronger. And that is where most Maximilian people start spamming it. But back in the days, you kind of could spam it with like a Lionel and shit. No one's doing that anymore. Like, if you do that and you make it work, well, good for you, but most people aren't doing that anymore. Did you miss Onmyouji? Onmyouji is over here in 80. Let's continue on. I think what Maximilian is, and we spoke about it earlier, Maximilian has the cool factor. Because if he kills the whole team, it shows like, oh my god, that was the most insane thing ever. And that cool factor makes it shine like it's really good, but it's actually not that great, because that match is just like 1 in 5 or 1 in 10, where it pops off that insane. But that cool factor gives a lot of people the feeling where it's like, that unit must be insane because that looks fucking cool. Which it did. Skin is amazing, everything is cool. But yeah, I can make a highlights on YouTube where it looks really cool, but that doesn't mean every match like that is going to be looking like that. Let's continue on with a Minato. Minato is one of those units you often expect it to kind of perform a solo, and then he dies. He's kind of chow. He's kind of chow. Like, he could do it, but in often cases, he's like, nope, not gonna do it. Ren, however, Ren is actually pretty. Oh, that's a trick. High win rate, Jesus. Ren is over here. Low win rate. Okay, I expected Ren to do better, but we're gonna give Ren a 75 tier for that reason as well. Dice of Despair. Yeah, this thing does, but do we give that a 75? Yeah, I think so. There's better option. Feels good. I feel like, personal feeling, I feel like Ren is a more 80, yeah. I don't know. Wunsa carry. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Wunsa Ren makes it strong. Without that, Ren is probably not something you want to have ruined up. So, 75 for that reason. Shun. Are people actually using that shite? Shun does do a good amount of damage. As long as he lands his shit, he does a good amount of damage. But apparently he's landing his shit 15% of the time. How about the Dark Shun? Ritsu. Weirdest kit in game, in my opinion, still. Yeah, wins 90% of the time. Now, that's not how pick rates work. Amber. I think Amber low-key is still pretty good. You do want to have some debuffs in front of her. She's barely picked, apparently. But I feel like low-key Amber is something people should still have ruined up. Why wounds are Ren? Because then, yeah, you can have something move in front of the Ren. And Absorb from the Ren skill 3 is actually pretty nice. So we have that one for Amber. Then we go into Sonya, which is one of the better win rates for normal elemental units. 51.63. That's insane. Also, the bend rate on this thing is absurdly high. My pick rate is pretty decent, but if we... Yeah, she has the highest bend rate from, like, let's say the top 15 picked units. That is pretty insane, while still having an insane win rate. That's some value right there. Yeah, I think these high-rank Sonyas, they just fuck you up, man. Like, every time I see a Sonya, I'm like, oh god, here we go again, I gotta ban it. Or it's just gonna, like, randomly fuck you up, and then still, like, the glancing potential on her passive makes her so insanely hard to kill as well. Where you think, like, oh, it's just, like, easy trade 1-for-1. Like, no, that passive makes her give more turns. 2 turns, and then bam, again. So that's... Do we give that the same value as Oliver, though? Or do we put it on the same value as Sekhmet? No, I actually feel like... Well, the thing is, let's call it this way. A very good Sonya is absolutely here. A Sonya that is runed with leftover runes is down here. That is definitely a big difference in there. I wouldn't be surprised if Sonya also does worse in lower ranks, because she is hard to rune. No, still like proper win rates throughout. Yeah, the fear factor, the ban factor. Yep. No. We're gonna put it 95 for the ban factor. That's actually a good argument right there. The fear factor of Sonya is just like, no man, fuck, I gotta ban it. Let's check what Veronica's doing these days. 50 bomb and 21. That's actually not that bad for Veronica at all. I think Veronica is definitely elevated in win rate by Jongnam, because Veronica Jongnam is an incredible strong combo. Like, that's just super nice. You reset everything, you push back everything, you stun everything, and that's just 2 units. Oh, you also stripped everything. If it lands. That's a big issue. But yeah. And plus, the thing is, her base speed is 104, which is pretty high for strip as well. Am I weird for saying Veronica on 92.5? She, in the end, has higher win rate than most of the units in here. I think most Veronica owners, the moment you see her miss, they are like, no. Yeah, I think kind of as well. Oh, she's not as good as Juno Segmet. She's not as spammable, but she's definitely good. Well, the thing is, do you need other good LDs to pair with or no? And that's actually a good value. You can simply just go Ciara, Veronica, Segmet, Jongnam, and you have an insane draft right there. And that's just normal elemental units next to the Veronica. Whereas back in the days, Veronica kind of wanted to have like a Maximilian next to it, and Moonsa, and blah, blah, blah. You wanted more LD heavy on your Veronica draft. Whereas right now, it actually feels kind of friendly to go for other units. Plus, you fuck up Heigang. She fell off. No, I think she's actually really good. No, fuck it. I'm gonna keep her 92.5. I feel like she's strong. She definitely, like, don't get me wrong, the moment she misses, she's bad. But so is Gianna, and she's at the way higher tier. Like, the moment Gianna misses everything, she's as bad as a Veronica missing everything. Because they both did nothing. Like, that's not really a strong argument. Because that counts for a lot of units. Because if she does land properly, match is kind of over. Let's move on next to Destiny. I'm pretty sure that unit is not used. I so want a buff on Destiny. I think I don't even have the unit, but I think she's just so cool to not be used. Like, she needs to strip on the very first hit of her skill 3. Hear me out. That's just straight up going for it, right? Only a strip on the first hit of that skill, or not skill 1, the skill 3. Skill 3 shoots first hit a strip. So if it then misses and misses the whole thing, fine. I don't care. But she should be able to strip immunity and then go for armor break and oblivion. Would be fucking insane. I give her the cool factor, 75. I would only use her as a Leo counter, to be honest. That's because otherwise she's just too hard to rune. Like, if you have crazy runes, yeah, but just going like if Will Nem Blade would probably make it work, because other things are probably not gonna work. Are people actually using that Ginger Brave thingy? I fought it once and it stunned every turn and was like, is this thing actually good? No. It mostly doesn't stun. Next thing was... Do people use Alice? Alice, who the fuck is Alice? That was a song, right? Not even sure. People do use it. It's pretty horrible. Don't use it. Audrey. I feel like Audrey low-key is underrated. And I've been saying this for a while. And then at the Summoners War European League, we saw an Audrey, I think, on multiple revenges. And that thing just revenged 27k. Like, imagine revenging for 27k. It just bashes shield in someone's head for fucking 27k. On a stupid revenge. I give that a 75. You have to give it some love for good runes to actually make it work. But yeah, that was something, man. Giselle, I think Giselle in lower ranks is really good, because that's where people forget the strips. And then, like, yeah, Giselle last big good luck, you're fucked. Yeah, anywhere but G3, Giselle is fucking insane. Like in all of the other ranks, she's like 51 high, 53 high. And wait, what is her ban rate in G3? Decent ban rate. If she's in the 4v4, she's actually worse. I want to give her credit as well. I want to give her credit on the 75 tier 4. If she's on a right draft, she's actually really insane. Moving on next. Pure vanilla cookies. Starting off with you. Not too high. She's kind of like, I just gave it an 80. Like if you build your whole draft around Adriana, she's nice to niche. Big issue she has is just being outsped by a lot of other things because she's a speed awakening unit, but ending up at 111, where other units end up at like 114 to 119. That's just better. Simple. We have Lucia. Pretty much the unit that made the more Changpang meta go away, I would say. She's definitely annoying. But is she that crazy good? I will give that... Do I actually give that an 85? He has the big issue for heal block. And since Sekhmet is that much in play right now, I feel like she's more of an 80 than an 85. Because of the heal block of Sekhmet. Because if Sekhmet was not as much meta, I would say that she had a lot better matchups in general. But she does still kind of counter all of them, which is very common. And she also somewhat counters Jongnam. No, I'm going to keep her 85. That's actually countering 2 of the 3 most picked units. So, yeah. And she's just the annoying factor as well. Plus, very high ban factor. That's actually a thing as well. Ban factor is pretty darn high. Angela. Also, one annoying unit right there. It's funny how the whole family is good except the L&Ds. 50 win rate. In the 4v4, also 50 win rate. Pick rate is pretty darn high. Yeah, that's straight up an 85 as well. I don't think she's more than an 85. No. She's not like a 90. But she's definitely damn annoying. 85 as well. Yeah, Angela, the cleanse is really good. The cleanse, and if you don't have any sustain... I do actually feel that Angela is better than Lucia, so I don't feel like that they could be on the same tier. It's kind of the weird stuff. But then again, in their own respective way, Angela is probably not banned as much. No. I think the ban factor on the Lucia just makes her... Yeah, Angela is more spammable, but... I do actually feel Angela is better than Lucia. But then again, do I feel like Lucia's an 80, though? Yeah, cleanse is good, because I don't really feel like Angela is 90. That would be a little bit too much. She's definitely not valid dual level or anything. I could go in between a tier, but then would I like to... I feel like she's kind of on par here. I just feel like that those two... No, I'm just going to put Lucia on 80. I'm just going to put it that way. The dark one, however, most of the time would recommend not to use that shit. But if she's not here in the top, then she's probably not used and I'm wasting my time. Okay, let's just move on. Zibala. Unit that used to be very meta, but right now is kind of falling out of meta. Still 8.5% pick rate, but win rate is just a 48 right now. Yeah, definitely lost its shine. I think it's still good if you have the right draft for it at the right moment, but it fell off. It absolutely fell off. There's just too many good counters to it. Also, Lucia has a good counter to it, but Zibala, I'm going to give that an 80. Smicer also definitely fell off. Smicer really had the issue with the healing. Like, Smicer does do pretty much the most amount of skill ones from all of them. Well, I'll see in a sec. They do the same amount because they don't have a skill 3. But Smicer definitely did have the issue with the recovery on the skill 1. Where the hell is this unit at? I'm looking for us more high up. 45 win rate, Jesus. That is really low. I still think a right Smicer in a right draft is annoying. It is good, but you have to give some good love to it to still keep it on like decent par. But I'll give that a 75. There's a lot of units in 75 today. Moving on next, Zima. Low-key not bad, but also not really great. Yeah, 7 or 47 win rate does represent that as well. I feel like it's kind of the same, 75 tier. Like, if you build your whole team around it, it can definitely perform, but it's most likely not going to be that great. There's definitely better options out there. Kovaci fell off a little bit too, but then we're talking about, like, it was on the highest step of the stairs, and then it went a little bit down. 50 win rate, kind of balanced. Thanos would like that. 10% on pick rate. It's not bad. It's not bad. I will give that an 85. Do I give that more than an 85? And do I game? I would say if you do have LD single target pairs for it, for damage, it would be more. But if you don't have those, then it's probably 85. Because what is the best pair for it right now without elementals? Then we're looking at Masha, Zinizek, Dominic's, those kind of things, which are good, but they're not necessarily fucking insane and work against everything. But I still think Kovaci 90. No, I'm going to keep Kovaci 90. I still think that the units... Well, stats don't really represent 90. No, that's kind of true. 50 win rate is not really... No. 85. I think 85 is fine. Zinizek was actually in my top 6 of 1 to 2 pulls. I actually did select it for the moment where we could select like LDs to pull instantly. But that it was where it was really good in meta. Now it's definitely did fall off a little bit as well. I'm gonna give that 82. No, do I? I feel like, well, if you're a general Gianna user, this thing is the hardest counter into Gianna in general. But I feel like the only thing Zinizek's super hard counters right now is Gianna. Well, actually, ban rate is pretty high. And the moment it's in the 4v4, it's even higher. No, fuck that. You're gonna go to 85. Yeah, it should be good against Jongnams too. Yeah, that's actually a good point. It should be good against Jongnams. It should be good against Olivers. It is not that bad into a segment. Yeah, this thing actually, why is it not played more? The win rate is not showing it, but for, like, if we're talking about a Oliver segment Jongnam meta, this thing should be higher up, ain't it? I don't know. But for now, we're just gonna keep it 85. I definitely do feel like it's at least 85. Pick rate isn't really showing it. Yeah, the only thing is you have to give this thing a pretty insane Fio set. Yeah, maybe on paper it sounds better than it is in the actual match. In between the tier, nah, I feel like 85 is fine. I might do a big in between the tier at some point to put some of those units in the 87, but I'm gonna do that all the way at the end. Like, not enough people do Swift. Seen so much good ones. Zinizek on Swift. Zinizek on Swift is actually not that bad. Ivor. Talking about units falling off. How about Van Cleef? Van Cleef is picked too little. Light Ivor, definitely low on win rates. I would say as a bruiser unit, she's not bad. She's just so fucking inconsistent. I still give that an 80 though. I don't feel like she was as crazy anymore as it used to be, but I still think she's an 80. I just think that a lot of people are picking her too much for the speed contest, and then it's just not the way to go. Violent? I'm not sure if Violent is the way to go. Maybe even Despair. Like, for the amount of turns she gets, how many chances you get to Despair? It's actually an insane amount, so... But is that really the right way? I don't know. I think Swift is not really that crazy at the moment. It is crazy if it does land. That is still a thing, but it's often not gonna land, so it's gonna tank your win rate on that. Let's check what we have for a secret. Where the fuck you at? Sometimes I have issues finding units. Oh, it's actually way higher up. Okay, 48 on 2.5%. It's not that bad. I feel like that's an 80 for me too. Do I feel like she's better than Zinizek? Nah, most cases not. Zinizek is better. So, yeah, Secret, 80. Ki, didn't know it, not Kiara, Federica. Federica's low win rate. Sig is LD carried. We actually had a Sigrid being played with like a Violent Ethna or Despair Ethna right after, and it was actually not that bad. It is kind of Han carried. That is true. That is true. Burke at 80 feels insane. I feel like people are just using Burke slightly worse for now, because in the end she can strip every turn she has, which is pretty nice. That still is pretty nice. Yeah, Secret is maybe a bit carried on other LDs. Do we one downer for that? Yeah, I think we one downer. Do we also one down maybe the Burkhild for that reason? Yeah, like the win rate's just not shown. I'm gonna give that 75. Fuck it. Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. 75 on both. Fuck them. But then we have Federica. When is the season ending? It's shown in game. It's like 23 days or so. Federica, I still give Federica like 48. Yeah, fuck it. But this thing is still annoying high bend rate. Yep. Yeah, the Federica still gets an 80 for me because she has the issue where she kills something for like 99.5% of the time, and if she doesn't full kill that, or like she kills for like 99.5% of the HP and then 1 HP is left and she doesn't get her skill 2 back fast enough, it's kind of her issue. And often where you have a trade 1-for-1, so she kills one unit and then she dies off later, so you have a 1-for-1 easy trade, which makes it a little bit worse, but I think she is still pretty good in the right draft. Kiara, I think Kiara definitely left the meta, or, well, she was never super much in meta, but she was mainly picked by people using Sibalas. But Sibalas kind of shifting away, which makes her shift away. And I think the only way that Kiara is actually good right now is Yan Hong boosted. Which I'm not sure why this pick rate still shows a decent amount. Like 2.3% is more than I expected. Win rate makes kind of sense. But for that reason, I'm just going to put it at 80. But personally, I feel that Kiara's worth less than this. I'm pretty sure Leonel is not used anymore. That meta is gone. Yep. How about Light Ezio? Also not used. If he gets the crit awakening, he might be interesting, but he's just too little freaking damage in most cases. Fire Bayek. Definitely a meta unit right now. Ooh, wow, good win rate. 51 win rate, 12.5 pick rate. That is definitely a solid one right there. I would say, yeah, that got to be 90. That absolutely got to be 90. He's better than all of the units in 85. Absolutely. Yep, simple as that. Is there a website where you can see best AOs and best ADs? Nope, because the metas on those kind of switch. Plus, there's no full-on data on that. Sahat is also an interesting unit. I've seen some players go in with like 100 res, high tank, speedy Sahat. It's not bad, but you need good runes to make it shine. So I think it's kind of in the 75 tier, good runes to make it shine. Fire Bayek does need good runes. Yeah, that's true. Let's see if Fire Bayek does actually do a lot worse in other lower ranks. Because I've seen in lower ranks, people just go for a Fire Bayek that's just only high speed, high HP. And then it's just a cleanser and healer. And it still does fine. So you don't need to make it a damage dealer. If it's a damage dealer, it does best. But just a cleanser and healer on this thing with add damage on the ball side artifact, he's still pretty good. So I'm gonna, a 90 is fair on that. Sahat is the GOAT. I feel like Sahat is just like, if you invest very good runes into it, it could work, but most of the time it's not that crazy. Piranha. Good late pick. I think it will probably end up at a 75 tier as well. 53 win rate is actually not bad at all. Wow. The moment that he's in the right draft, he is very likely to win, apparently. Issue for me is it's very hard to find the right draft for this thing, because the enemy has to show 0 wind units. So there can be a Sierra, there can be an Oliver, and there can be a Sierra, there can be an Ethna. And those 3 units are super commonly picked all the fucking time. So it's just so rare to have this thing in there all the time. So I'm just going to give it 75 for that. Win rate does show a little bit more than that, but that's just my issue. Like, the element is the issue. Because fire units, I think if it was another element, it might have been a little bit more. Yeah, it's just too many wind units that are good. These 2 are not used. Devaraja is used. Devaraja, kind of the same thing, but even higher win rate. Wow, Devaraja is actually not bad. Yeah, Devaraja does his job better by a pretty decent extent because he doesn't give a shit about elements. And that's just his strong factor in it. However, it's just the last pick. I'm gonna give it 80. It's like a light monkey. I think he's very on par with a light monkey. Please buff your light Indra. I can't buff shit, man. That's what I can do. Wait, did I? Wait, Obama, I didn't put the fire twin angel in here. Well, to be honest, I'm pretty sure that Fire Twin Angels is not even picked that much. So technically, I don't have to even put it in. Yep, too low with pick rate. I don't have to put it in above what's not on the list. Okay, well, let's put a unit that is on the list. Here, 25 pick rates. That makes you top 5 most picked units? No, a lot less. Top 10. Yeah. Win rate close to 50-50. Is first pickable. That definitely gets you some value in there. And we're going to go straight to 92.5. Do we make that 92.5 or do we make that a 90-er? No, we're actually going to make you a 90. I feel like that Twin Angel on the 90 is fair. Because I feel like it is a little bit more versatile and better than the Speed Leads on Vanessa and the Sierra. But I don't think it's like a big margin, so 90 feels fair on that one. We do have the Wind Twin Angels being picked a decent amount. Oh, that's a Lydia. Apparently keep that shit hidden. 51 win rate, that's not too bad. The only thing is, like, how good is it without the whole Carlos kind of hey gang shenanigan that everyone is trying to play it with? I'll give it 80. Maybe it has... It's actually for... If you think about it, it's as close as you get for a free-to-play Laura. Well, it actually shows a pretty decent win rate, though. But I think if it starts to get drafted, more people start fucking it up more. But it has speed buff, it has slow, it has stuns, and that's pretty much all Laura does. The only thing is Laura does insane stupid damage with it as well and has cycling on the skill 1, but I think that this thing might be not bad. I'll give it an 80. Win rate shows a little bit more than 80, but I think the moment people figure it out a little bit more, it will drop down. So I give that an 80. Next one is Light Twin Angels. Probably still pretty insane on win rate. 53. It used to be higher. It used to be like 55 or 56 at the start of the season, but still definitely an insane unit. Absolutely a 90. I would say even 92.5. Pick rate isn't crazy high. No, that's absolutely 92.5. It is not as good as like Zeratul, Miying and those kind of units, but it's absolutely really good. And the thing is, the pairs that you need with this is just like Despair, Sierra, and a Sekhmet. And then just counter picks. You don't need like other insane LDs for this to make a pair. Plus, Jongnam on this thing is also really fucking good. No, I think 90 is too low for it. Pick rate doesn't really show that much. I think that I'm surprised that it's not that much picked. The S3 is not consistent enough. Well, then instead of just using the attack buff, you boost up your own unit and you give Jongnam a turn and then you fuck everyone up. Like, this unit was already used even before that. Yeah, it's just the pick rate is kind of low compared to the other 90s, but the win rate is way higher than the other 90s. Because the other 90s are like 50 and 51-ish win rate. This thing is like 53. That's just fucking insane. But I would say that this thing is very high artifact dependent. If your artifacts are shit, then you are fucked. That is definitely a Twin Angels issue. Therefore, I'm also pretty sure on lower ranks, it does a lot worse. Well, actually, not much worse. I expected like below 50 win rates. So yeah, I'm going to give that a 92.5. I think that's fair. Dark one I don't have to look at because that thing garbage. Fire Geralt, I only know that Shambi was a little bit using it, but if you want to use the Fire Geralt right now, might as well just use a Bloodshed because it's shit. We do know that Monagua or Mr. Sloth is using the Light Geralt. It has a lot of chance to cycle turns, but even those guys are tanking the win race with it. Light, or no, yeah, Light Series? No, Light Series definitely not going to get used. Light Series, especially in the Summoners War original unit. Oh, 61 win rate. Fucking insane. 0.04% pick rate doesn't count. But I think that that unit is just super cool by the whole kit. It's just too hard to use in RTA. Okay, these are also not used. These are not used. Let's see if Kid is used. I kind of doubt it, but might be a unit that some people like picking up. In the end, it is a worse Veronica by a pretty big margin. Okay, not used enough. We go for Trix. Trix is not used much, but when it's used, it's actually pretty high on win rate. And I think Trix is really darn insane together with a Jungnam. It just has a big Heigang issue. That is the only thing. But I think that this unit is really insane. But he's 100 base, so you have to invest pretty good runes to him to make it work. So yeah, because of the good rune investment and the Heigang issue, I'm just going to put him at 80 rather than anything higher. The other one's silver. We were talking a little bit about silver earlier. And the main value on silver is his first pick potential. And first pick, 33 lead, that is uncontested, because the enemy most likely doesn't have it, makes you just so fucking strong. And it is very high on the win rate. It is not the craziest on the pick rate, but I definitely do think that because of the first pick potential, he becomes better than Tianlang and Gianna. Here he does have his fair share of counters, but the moment that people start, like, the moment that you draft this thing, you just have to know that the enemy is most likely going to go for Veramos and a Juno. So you need your Jungnam and you need some other units to fuck up a Juno. As long as you draft that, this thing has an insane win rate. So I'm going to keep this at 100 because it is spammable and it is 100 tier, which is just really fucking insane. And the thing is, the moment that you put a really insane set on a Tianlang, but Tianlang is not draftable in every match because he simply isn't, you lose that set. Whereas the silver is drafted in every match, actually giving the best runes to it, give more value. So yeah. Why is Laura that insane? 120 base, AoE slow, AoE speed buff, AoE defense buff, AoE stun, cycling on the skill 1. Do I have to continue? Fuck. That unit is insane. Also, the immunity from this thing is just, yeah, silver is really good. I get that 100. Then we go for Nyx, but Nyx with a 1. Pretty sure it should be somewhat decent. It shouldn't be that far down. Because I do think that that thing is a decent amount used. Am I being blind? I'm pretty sure I'm being blind. Right over here on the left. Silver is giga good with other LDs. I think silver is also really good just with the Jungnam. This win rate though, 55 fucking win rate. I think more people should be picking up Nyx, man. Nyx is actually really insane. You can only use it against like Nefteses in most cases. But he's just so good. How to use Veronica? I think with Veronica, you just want to go Sierra, Veronica, or Oliver, Veronica, Jongnam, Sekhmet +1. I think that's a really good draft. Next win rate is boosted by Ragdoll spammers. I think that this thing just counters so many debuffs in the first place that just makes him really good. Like, this thing is legitimately one of the better 5th picks. Moving on next, we got Irene, which is definitely an annoying unit for Ragdoll players. Win rate is just 49, but I think Irene is really good at the moment. Irene gets an 85 for me. Nyx, 85. Well, Nyx doesn't have that much pick rate, so you can't really use it in that many matches. Like, if Nyx was... If people were spamming a lot more Nefteses and Maximilians, then he would become higher. But since his pick rate is that low, he's too niche. Like, you probably use Nyx once in, like, 60 matches, or maybe even 100 matches. And you can't really put that towards 85, where all of the 85 units are, like, super spammable, I would say. And it's just a 5th pick. But Irene 85 is definitely a really nice unit. That's definitely where we see Ragdoll win rate tank a little bit. Irene is one of the reasons for that. Bludja. Definitely something I spammed a lot earlier in the season, but if you spam too much Bludja, everyone's just like, oh, I'll just smack in a Juno and you're going to have a really bad day. And I was having bad days. But I think it's still a good pick for a 5th pick. It is definitely like, if you rock in a 5th pick Bludja, it's way better than a Juno or an Asuma. Because of that silence and because of the pushback. Like, those two factors just make it a lot better. Moving on next. Layla, I already checked. That thing apparently has like a 21 win rate. Yep. Nope, not in G3. Not in G3. Jessica, however, I think might be a something here and there. Nope, not a thing. Next units. Oh, wait, did I just skip a line? Yeah, I just skipped a line. I went from here when I was still there. Oh, well, whatever. We go for Jungnam then. Well, Jungnam is very easy to find. Jungnam is... Look at this. That is absolutely insane. Jongnam is more picked than Gianna by a substantial amount of like 9% and has a whole percent higher win rate than a Gianna, which is the highest LD5 for pick rate in the game. Jongnam is fucking insane in current meta. I think Jongnam goes in there. It is not 105, but it is definitely 100. It is definitely a unit that's also highly elevated by other good LDs, except Gianna. It's mainly the LDs that strip, do something else, but not stun. That is the main thing that you're looking for. So you're looking for Veronica, Twin Angels, Laura, Wounsa, those kind of things. That's what you're looking for. If you already stun with Gianna, it's kind of useless. But yeah, Jongnam in general is just fucking insane. Even if you pair with Gianna, it's still not bad. Same with like the Tian lane, you get less attack bar from your absorber shit. No, it's still good. And Jongnam in the end, it is relatively easy to rune. You just need the accuracy, you need a lot of HP, you need speed, but you're 111 base. It's not even that hard to rune at high speed as well. So Jongnam, for how easy it is to build and how much his kit does, becomes 100 right there. And it just shows in the win rate, man. Like the win rate on this thing is just fucking stupid. And his skill once can still freeze. Yep. Makes me remember when the tier list with more soul on the top of everything. Yep, kinda. Yeah, it's that the Laura's on top of that still, but it's pretty close up to being absolutely insane. We have... Is this thing actually used? Nope. Light one, however. Uldong. It's a little bit used. It's very niche though, but I want to give it some credit. I think Uldong, if you pair the right units with it on the right draft, still give it... I'll give it a 75. It's definitely one of those units with the right style, right draft. It's definitely not that bad. Gapso. Still an annoying unit, still really good. Still one of those units where when you feel like it's like, why is it stunning on skill 1 all the fucking time? That's most top left. Win rate did tank a little bit, mainly because of the Ragdoll being tanky, nerf not being that crazy for him, but I still gave Gapso an 85. I think Gapso in general is better than a Racuni. Racuni is only good with like Miles and stuff. Gapso is just good in general. Like if you're healing a lot and the enemy takes a Gapso and the Gapso is taking a million turns because you were healing a lot, like, yeah, that's annoying. These we already had, so we go into Megami territory, or we first can check the... What are the Wind Nubara? It is used from time to time, but apparently it's not good. Fire Megami. I do know Fire Megami has a horrible win rate. It's really bad. 44.75, but I feel like Fire Megami is probably overspammed. I don't know. Because I feel like Fire Megami, it's not 85 tier, but I feel like he's definitely not bad. Like, he has a stun every other turn. He can fuck up a lot of comps. He's not that much picked. I'm not sure where his low win rate comes from. Because if he was picked like 10% and this was his win rate, I would be like, yeah, okay, people are overspamming him. But I'm just surprised that his win rate is just fucking insanely low, because I feel like his kit is not that bad. But putting a 44% win rate in 85 feels bad, so I'm just going to keep it at 80. I'm not sure why they can't give the collapse just 33 leads. Come to us, gonna do come to us things, let's call it that much. Let's check out for a Dark Megami. Dark Megami is actually not bad. I kind of expected worse. It does have the issue of landing, but so does pretty much every other strip. Do we give it higher than this? I kind of... I don't know. It does have the armor break in the end. Did you miss Chandra? Where the hell is Chandra at? Oh, yeah, I completely missed Chandra. Good point. I completely skipped over Chandra altogether. Very good point, very good point. We'll do Chandra in a second. Let's do the Megami first. But Dark Megami. Win rate is showing pretty decent. I'm not sure. I'm not really liking this unit that much. But I think like if you pull your whole comp around it, it might be not that bad. I'll give it 85. Yeah, let's actually go into Chandra, which I was going over like a million times. Chandra, second most picked unit, is actually very good on the win rate. And I think it's one of the higher win rates from all of the first picks. Because it's one of, yeah, it's all of the other first picks are pretty much below 50 on the win rate, except for Chandra. Which makes Chandra really good. Which is also the reason why I'm still first picking Chandra. Do we give Chandra a 95 though, or a 92.5? Because in the end, Chandra is less picked. And him being less picked does make it where he can get higher win rate for that reason. But he's still first pick material. Now I'm going to give him 92.5. Because I think in general, Oliver is just better. He is first pick potential, but he's not as oppressive. If he had 33 lead, he would absolutely be up here, or maybe even there. But I would say 92.5. Chandra, Swift Fire, Despair, yes to all three. It's all possible. Personally, I like Vio if you want him to do damage, but all three are possible, and all three are actually good. Light Gojo. Well, let's first do Dark Gojo. Because that's the unit that is rocking an issue which is called inconsistencies. What is your win rate on that? 50-50. It's not... wait. wait. Here we see the fear factor of a unit. 50% win rate if he's just in the match and outside of the match. If he is in the match, 45. And his ban rate is 45 as well. That just straight up shows, like, fuck, I gotta ban it. And if you leave it through, it's actually not that great. I still give it an 80 though. Like the fear factor and everything, just like this thing is so often freaking banned. It's like, yeah, I know, I'm not gonna fight that shit. Like if he fits in the draft, he's 9 out of 10. I'm guaranteed must ban. But if he's let through, mostly you can actually ignore it because it just fucks. But then the light version, which is actually funny. A lot of people were like, oh, light Gojo, you pulled the wrong element. Like, oh, rip light Gojo. And now light Gojo is like, this thing is fucking insane. 12.17, 53.69. That thing rocks, man. We're gonna go for another 100 tiener. Yeah, his kit is super loaded. His skill 1 is kind of bad. Don't get me wrong on that. But his skill 2 is a good strip. It's like more, but he has higher strip rate than more. But the only issue is he could be a 2-hit or a 3-hit on the skill 2, which is kind of the weird part. I don't really like that. Like, lower the rates, make it always 3-hit, whatever. But the skill 3, the moment that the skill 3 is on cooldown, you get a lot of attack bar from that nonsense. So that just adds in so much. He's Sonya-proof, which is also a really nice thing for first pick to be Sonya-proof because he's probably high enough on defense. And he's first pickable. And that part of him being first pickable just makes him so fucking insane. Plus the moment that, let's say, Gianna stuns everything except the Gojos. Like, rather than you go for a strip, you go for an AoE cleanse. Match is over. It's just fucking hell, man. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, the moment that he resists, yo, you're fucked. The moment he procs out, yo, you're fucked. And the thing is, he also has 3 builds he's good at. Could be good at Vio, could be good at Despair, could be good at Swift. Plus, he's a 106. He's a fucking 106 base. Like, what the hell, man? 106 base is fucking insane. Because it makes it so much easier to make another Vio set that just outspeed it. That makes it so much easier to have a Despair set to outspeed it. That makes it so much easier for a Swift set to rock in extra speed because of that extra scaling, because of the 25% scaling on the 106 rather than on the Gianna that's a 100. Like if Gianna was a 101 from a Swift set, she would already get 3 extra speed. And like, hear me out on that one. Gianna 100 gets 1 extra speed from being 101, gets 1 extra speed from the base tower, and gets 1 extra speed from the Swift set. So her 1 speed extra is 3 extra speed. That has like the margins in there for like at certain thresholds that 1 speed becomes like 3 extra speed. I'm not entirely sure if 106 is just over it, but I do think so. So that's where this thing just becomes fucking insane. How can you tell if first unit is first pickable? You just check replays and then you see what other people pick first. Simple as that. Like, if you don't know, watch someone else that does know. Let's move on to some Draken Warriors. I don't think that these things are really used. I've seen some people kind of try to use it, but it is not really too much towards my liking. And I can't even find this unit. Oh, they're right there. Nope, it has high win rate, but 0 pick rate. I think none of these. I do want to quickly check the dark one, but I think the dark one also is pretty horrible. It has the big issue, once again, Resistance Awakening. Resistance Awakening, that makes no sense. Yep, pretty much not picked. Okay, then we go into scenarios of Demon Slayer units. I think none of the Tanjiros are used. I think we can just simply say fair on that. I think the only Nezuko that's used is Dark. So I'm just going to go straight through there. I'm not going to go through all of the units that are most likely not being picked. Dark Nezuko. Actually, lower win rate than I expected. 4.2% win pick rate. Win rate is okay-ish. I kind of expected her to do better, to be honest. I feel like she is pretty good. But apparently it's not showing as much, but I'm still gonna give her 85. I think that Dark Nezuko is pretty legit. Maybe she just needs like a little bit of better pairs or something, but I don't know. Dark Nezuko, 85 for me. I feel like she's pretty legit. Then we go into the Zenitsus. I'm pretty sure water is not used. Fire is a net 4, so we don't have to look at it. Yeah, water, wouldn't recommend to use that. Dark, however, is definitely used. Dark win rate is not that much. It's also just 1% pick rate, but it's also a relative new unit. But I think he's pretty legit. Wouldn't say he's super crazy insane because the big issue he has is he dies off pretty easily. And yeah, that's just his main issue. His damage output is pretty darn good though, because he gets 50% extra damage from his passive, which is nice. But I would say that a Dark Nezuko does do better than this thing. Dark Tanjiro has insane rune requirements. I don't think Dark Tanjiro is used for this at all. Let's see for, or the Dark Zenitsu if you mean that. Yeah. Let's see for the Wind one. Wind one is definitely used. Yep. 11.9% of pick rate. Win rate is 50. Those are solid numbers. And that's actually the first unit in a very long time that we have seen with such good numbers on that. And I think I'll give it a 90. Wouldn't say it is on Juno segment level, but it is definitely a 90. It is definitely a really strong unit throughout. And then we have the Inosuke case. I'm just going to check the water one, but I think that the Inosuke case, the people that are saying if water Inosuke is good, they are overrating it by a long shot. And keep this shit hidden, man. No one wants to use this shit. Also not in arena offense, man. Just use a Chiwu. It's better. Don't use this shit. It doesn't do anything else. Then we have some of the Spectre Princesses. I definitely want to check out water, maybe fire and dark. But water is definitely potential. 1% pick rate, 49 on the win rate. It's not the craziest, but I think that she can be pretty solid if people start picking her more often, because she's actually pretty nasty. So give Lamila the 80. I was saying for the fire, Theodora. Actually, the only player that I saw her play was Abs. And it was kind of working, but also, in my opinion, slightly bit overhyped. Like, if it works, it looks really cool, but most of the time, like, yeah, I'm not sure. So, yeah, that's also... Win rate is not too bad, but pick rate is just simply not there. Light Inosuke, I actually can check as well. Light Inosuke might have a decent win rate. Oh, Light Inosuke win rate is close to 60. But he's almost never fitting in the draft. That is kind of his issue. Yeah, that's just... I would give Light Inosuke, by best, actually, same as Maximilian. Like, if you put him... Yeah, it's pretty much the same as a Maximilian. If you do like a good combo with him, it can definitely work, but most of the time, it's too hard to fit them in. Valeska, which is then the final unit of today, and then we're closing in on 2 hours and 30 minutes for this one. Valeska is right over there. It's actually lower on win rate. At the start of the season, or the start when she was pulled, she was definitely high on win rate, and you can see that in lower ranks. Like, the lower the rank goes, the better she is, because people don't understand that you have to kill her first. The moment you kill her first, she's fucked. That's as simple as it is. But I think she's still pretty decent. Like, she still can be kind of nasty. So that's an 80 for me right there. Then, am I missing any units that have potential that could be in the list? 1% pick rate plus. Don't think any of those units would be for that. I want to check Icarus and Talisha. Talisha is definitely a no. Icarus, most likely not as well. Will maybe be a little bit higher up. Nope. Nope, definitely not. Wedget. Wedget is already in. Not sure where I placed. 75 or 80? Yeah, Wedget's here, 75. Yeah, Jara, no, Jara's below 50. But Light Nezuko is also too niche. No one gonna use this shit. Wanna give a try to light Tanjiro, but I really doubt. No. Oh, Jesus, win rate. Nope, nope, nope. Ain't gonna be there. So yeah, this is what the tier list is going to be looking like. I was thinking about maybe doing an in-betweener tier to have you move one up. No, I think I'll keep it as is. Water Gojo, good point, good point. Where's the Water Gojo? Ah, fuck, I don't have Water Gojo in here. Let's check Water Gojo. I would have to... That's actually a good catch, Water Gojo. Water Gojo is definitely a one that I would have to place in there. I'm not sure if... Wait, before I start showing weird shit, let me give a... Because I'm pretty sure that I can add this... Okay, just in case... Do I screenshot it? Because if this thing goes bad... No, I'm pretty sure that this works to add a picture. And let me add pictures. Not showing anything weird. Nope. F5s. Pretty sure I have it in here. There's Gojo in here. Yeah, Water Gojo. I don't think I have to check the other Gojo as well. Please make sure that everything... Yep, everything's still there. Nice. And we have him in here right now. Okay, so let's see. Gojo is 48 on a 4. And I think he somewhat counters the meta units as well. He just doesn't do the craziest of jobs at it. But I feel like that Water Gojo is actually pretty legit. Do I feel like he's 85 though? Win rate isn't really representing 85. Yeah, he has the big issue with the skill 1. Yeah, absolutely. Babo was right. Like the skill 1 issue, the moment that he didn't have the... If he didn't have the skill 1 issue, he would have absolutely been better. Oh wait, the thing also just moved to the left. Well, let's just be lazy and do it like this. Yeah, skill 1 stunts are really nice, but the moment he doesn't land stunts, it's just kind of iffy and bad. But yeah, this is how the tier list is going to be for today. And for the next, I don't know how long. What's with that Wind Twin Angels? Wind Twin Angels is as close as a Laura that you can get on another unit. It has slow, it has stun, it has speed buff. And it strips. And since Laura's over there, having something that comes kind of close to it makes it something. When is the balance patch? End of this month. Most likely after the, what's it called? The Legend Tournament. I think the Monday after the Legend Tournament is my expectation. So yeah, that was once again a very lengthy video, but this is going to be the tier list of right now. Burguild is 75er.